Hey, what's up, guys? Didn't really come on to catch anybody. Just hopefully, see, if anybody's on or if they're not. Just checking in on everybody. I know it's been a hard week. Hard week. Everybody's in their own personal hell with this game. I've obviously played the game back a million times in my head. Watched the highlights. Watched the last few plays. Heard Bean speak, heard McDermott speak, heard Allen speak, um, and it's definitely something that's going to haunt them for the rest of this off season until they get back on the field. It's going to definitely haunt all of us Bills fans till they get back on the field in any capacity because it's to have that moment ripped from them, ripped from the fans. It's it's terrible. It's terrible. But I've heard fans. A lot of emotions are flying around. People saying, "Fire this guy, do this, do that," and it's just crazy. People want answers. McDermott obviously is very close to the vest. He's not going to say this or that and throw somebody under the bus. And there's a balance because if you start throwing players and coaches under the bus, prospective players and prospective coaches from the outside and inside, they see that and it's like, look, these people aren't going to have my back if something happens, and that's how you lose guys. And I'm not saying that right or I mean, then you got the element of people with death threats and stuff and all kinds of shitty comments on the internet and filling a guy's timeline with all kinds of vile stuff. It's definitely toxic. So uh yeah, I just again, if somebody you know comes on, it's cool. But if they don't, I don't do these things for views or for any sort of gain. um, I know everybody's in a bad spot with this game because we all in our heart of hearts feel like should be getting ready for a game on Sunday in you know in Highmark Stadium, and they're not. And that's a tough thing. Yeah, man. I know, Trevor. I know, bro. It's one of those things where you're just randomly sitting around and it just pops into your head and it just, it's like part of my day is good. Then all of a sudden I'll be sitting around and I'll start thinking about it. And I'm just, to have that moment, the high. I mean, it was as high as you could be, especially for you young guys. That was your ultimate high. And to have it taken from you like that, it's just, you know, I the thing that sucks. Yeah, bro, that's what I've been doing, and that's good. Channeling it into a positive is a very good thing. That's what you should be doing. That's what they need to be doing. I mean, Josh Allen today saying to the Pro Bowl alternate, no thanks. I mean, everybody knows that guy is not a Pro Bowl alternate. He's a Pro Bowl quarterback, and to even take an insulting invitation like that, no thanks. I personally don't want any of our players going to play in that game and risking anything. I have no desire for it. It does nothing for me. It hasn't been relevant in a very long time. Um, but so much has happened this week. I mean, in terms of, uh, you know, yeah, that's obvious. I mean, you still gotta play a game. You would have still had two games to play, and anything could happen in those games. You don't want to just assume anything. As we've seen, 13 seconds, and I just thought it was a myriad of things just that happened. The euphoria of the moment, um, being shook by what happened to them prior, getting run past. I mean, even Matt Hawk essentially saved the game on a spin around tackle on Hill on that punt return, which is crazy. And then obviously Jackson, the last play of that series before the field goal. Um, and I just want to let you guys know that this isn't the end. Everybody I've people who know me know that I wear this on my heart. Even though if I don't have a Bills shirt on, it's pretty much it's there, and like the rest of you, um, and they see me and they would say, look, bro, this is the message that I've gotten, and this isn't from Bills fans or anything like that, and they're just like, look, dude, that guy's your quarterback. Like you're gonna be in a lot of these things. I know that in my heart of hearts because I've seen it before. I mean, we've seen it with other teams. I mean, look at Mahomes. This is his fourth straight championship game. That's not by accident. I mean, it's because he's the caliber of quarterback that he is. And everybody after the game during this whole week has been knee jerking, saying we need to do this or that. And I just kind of like, once I've gotten to take a step back and look at everything, I'm like, look, the Bills have had them beat twice. They beat them the first time. And they're in KC twice. They had them beat again, and just a series of events that just led up to that, And I know there's an all 20. I'm sorry, not an all 22. A mic'd up out there with all the things from Kelsey and that whole route they talked about on the sidelines. And we've seen McDermott learn from these situations prior, with the fourth down aggressiveness or lack thereof, doing certain things in games, and he's adjusted. So I trust him. I trust him to make the adjustments. I trust him to get. I trust him. Yeah, the execution is. I think it's communication between players, between coaches. I know one of the Bills reporters, Thad Brown, showed a clip of Siran Neal, who's one of the main special teams players. He had a surprised look on his face when the ball went out of the back of the end zone. I think they thought it was going to be a punt. I'm sorry, a kick that was supposed to be inside the 10, and they were just going to run down, make the tackle. They can't fair catch it. They have to return it. They can't just let it, so it was just a really, really, and they're going to have to learn from that situation. I know a lot of you guys don't know. Maybe you're too young. I mean, Andy Reid, back when he started with the Eagles, he went to like three straight NFC championship games and didn't get to the I think he went to 3 or 4, and then he finally got to that one, where they went and played against the Patriots and they lost. And so I would suggest that, coaches, there's a history. Coaches can learn from these things. People talk about the Music City Miracle, and the Bills organizationally were in a different spot, but I remember that game very, very well. And after that game, they fired Bruce DeHaven, who was a longtime special teams coach for the Bills, very, very well respected. Coached Adam Ligner, who was their long snapper, Chris Moore, Steve Christie, Steve Tasker, Mark Pike, tons of great special teamers. And they fired him because of that. Everybody wanted their bowl of blood. They got their bowl of blood. Wade Wilson hired his longtime friends, never coached special teams at any level, guy named Ronnie Jones. And in 2000, the Bills special teams was awful. Awful. It was terrible. So everybody who wants their bowl of blood, again, just be careful. Just be careful, because that's just an ugly business to get into. And prospective coaches and coaches on your staff start to look at that sideways. You don't want to get into that business. It seems it makes you feel good for a second, but ultimately it's not. It doesn't solve anything. It's not going to change what happened. Because we've all played that game over. Well, we haven't played that game over. We've played that 13 seconds over in our head. Very unhealthy. A very unhealthy amount, I'd say. But I just wanted to see how everybody's hanging in there. How was everybody's doing? Because I know everybody's in a really rough spot. And but I've had a chance to calm down. I've had a chance to relax and just I still say we're good, man. We're right there. We're right there. There's no need to panic. There's no need to knee jerk. There's no need to make crazy moves. Exactly, Trevor. People want to cut this guy and oh my God, we need this, we need X, we need this. There's always going to be ads. There's always going to be deletions. Just that's the nature of football. You know, McDermott is the guy who came in and started this whole thing for us. He's made all the changes. He's gotten rid of all the wrong people that were over there for all that time that led to all those years of futility. They're all gone because of him. Bean has come in and he's hired a great staff. He's had 3 guys hired as general managers off his staff. Dan Morgan last year, Joe Shane this year, and Brian Gain a few years back, who's now back with the Bills. He was hired by the Texans to be their GM. So there's a reason, you know, that we are where we are. It's because of these guys. So we have to always remember that. You know, look at the players that they've signed. Look at the players that they've drafted. You know, look at the quarterback that they took a monumental leap of faith. You know, a monumental leap of faith. A quarterback that who thought he was going to be good? Nobody. Not me. Not many of you. And my God, that guy last night, that's not the Josh Allen who took the field against Baltimore in 2018 in week 1, started his first game against the Chargers in week 2 at Orchard Park. That's a different guy now. That's the Josh Allen that, you know, that's a video game, man. That's a creative player. That's not, they don't make those. And we've seen it all at quarterback for the Bills. We've seen, I don't even want to say we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've seen a lot of average, okay, bad, ugly, and terrible. And you young cats have never seen anything like that at quarterback for the Bills. The older cats saw Kelly. Let me tell you something. That guy is better than Jim Kelly. We're watching the greatest talent to ever play the position ever for the Bills. Period. So I want you guys to rest easy and know that that guy is our quarterback for a very long time, and that you, me, the rest of the Bills fans are going to be enjoying football games for a very, very long time because of him. That guy is just, you know, cannon, but just he can throw with touch. He can throw with trajectory. He can, you know, throw with the velocity he needs. You know, his, you know, being able to throw on the run, create with his legs, escape sacks. He plays the game with his mind. You know, he's got full command of the offense. Everybody, even the defensive players, love him. He's the Pied Piper, man. You don't get quarterbacks like this but once every 20 years. I mean, and I'm talking about for the entire league. This guy is wearing this on the side of his helmet, okay? You know, think about all the times we'd sit and watch primetime games with quarterbacks that weren't Bills quarterbacks, and all we would do was sit there and think about, when are we going to see that for the Bills? You know, that was like a pipe dream. Think about all the primetime games we've seen now as Bill, you know, this team plays well under the lights. They play well in prime time. They show up for prime time. Yeah, Frank, it's crazy. I mean, it's just in the moment. It's very much in the moment. It's very, and you get it. You understand it. But you know, I'm sure nobody, I mean, the man was about to cry. I mean, you get grown men who are on the verge of tears. I mean, a lot of us, I'm sure, if we were to be completely frank with each other, we were on the verge of tears, or maybe we were in tears. You know, the 13 seconds we're crying because we're happy. After the 13 seconds, maybe we're crying because we're sad, or we're just trying to hold back tears, or maybe we cried later in the week. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the beauty of sports. The motion, it's pure, it's raw, it's real. You know, it's all right. That's what, just as we're happy, it's going to make us sad sometimes. And I know Bills fans have felt a lot more sad than happy, but in the last three years, you know, they've brought us a good amount of joy, a good amount of joy, and a good record, respectability. You know, we're going to go into next season as a team again to beat. It's not going to be the Josh Allen 1 year fluke. It's not going to be like, oh, can they repeat? Oh, it's not going to be. No, everybody's going to have those playoff games indelibly etched in their mind. And Josh Allen is, yeah, exactly, Trevor. And Josh Allen is going to be a guy. It's like, okay, I mean, you look at the cover of the New York Post. I mean, it's basically, irregardless of what the Jets do, they have to find an answer for Josh Allen. Boomer Esiason on Boomer and Geo. Oh, the Jets, Patriots, and Dolphins have a Josh Allen problem for the next 15 years. You know, so think about that. We're the team with the hammer in the division now. The Patriots can live in the past all they want. The Dolphins can spin their tires all they want. The Jets, whatever. As long as we have the division, we're in the playoffs. And as long as we're in the playoffs, we have a chance. That's all that matters. And Beane's fantastic. He's fantastic. And, you know, he's also very, very, he makes very, very prudent business decisions. He doesn't do a lot of decisions that are emotion driven. He doesn't do a lot of fair weather decisions. He doesn't knee jerk and make decisions off the cuff. You know, we're going to see some guys come. We're going to see some guys go. You know, I'm sure for them internally, a lot of guys played their last game as Buffalo Bills. And I'm sure for them, it's very, very sad because I can't imagine the bonds that you develop doing that stuff with each other. It must be amazing. I mean, we develop bonds with them just watching them, you know. Imagine being in the same room. He did, Zach. I mean, us Bills fans know. I mean, I remember at the end of 19, Cole Beasley was up there saying that, you know, after the Houston game at the exit meetings, you know, what they had with the media, he was saying this kid's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I remember Dion Dawkins after the Jets come back in the opener of 19 saying some things like, you know, we're just here to witness greatness, help this kid do whatever he wants to do. The coaches know, the players know what Josh is capable of. And we hadn't seen anything but like what we've seen in the last 2 years. We didn't even really see it that season, maybe a little bit at Dallas, little bits and pieces, but nothing to that magnitude. And he's just, you know, it's like Jordan Palmer was talking on One Bills Live today, and he said Josh Allen's evolution now is all going to be upstairs. Like he realizes that he can do anything he wants on a football field. There's nothing he cannot not do on a football field. And the relaxation and the calm and the chill that kid showed in those moments on Sunday, there's no more deer in the headlights, sugar high Josh. I mean, all that shit is like that shit is gone, man. That's all gone. Yeah, I mean, that's just, again, Frank, everybody expects Mahomes to do that stuff, right? But Allen going blow and then overseeding him in regulation was like, oh shit. we didn't see that coming. But again, us Bills fans, we know what he's capable of. It's night and day, Trevor. It's not. It's like, what does Whaley do now? He talks to Tyler Dunn and sings like all kinds of tall tales to him. It's crazy. Well, we don't know if he's going to leave yet, Frank. And I think when you're in the playoffs and you're in those spots, you've got to, Josh said it himself. You gotta. There's some moments you gotta have it. Like, and he said he's going to do it, but he's also talked, and there's a balance there that he wants to be smart with it too. So he's cognizant of that. That's good that he has that self-awareness. That you know, and I'm glad he's not going to the Pro Bowl. I want this kid to go away and heal up for a few months. Go get fat a little bit, not fat, but just go relax. Go have some drinks, eat a little bit of food, just get some extra sleep, just get away from football because I think that's the only way they're gonna forget this. But it's gonna fuel them, that's for sure. What's up, Al? How you doing, bro? Well, Gemini, I mean, I said this, man. And I'm not saying anything you guys don't know. Mahomes throws to the best track athlete who ever played the game, the best track athlete to ever play the game, and he throws to a Hall of Fame tight end. Allen has good weapons. He doesn't have those weapons. He's got very good weapons. He doesn't have those weapons. But Allen can still play with him, no doubt about it. He can go blow with him. There's no denying it. So I'm sure, the way the Bills do business, they're going to look to, they want to develop their own. Don't discount Marquez Stevenson being that speed dude. Don't discount it. I know he came in, he stepped in, he returned some kicks and some punts for McKenzie after McKenzie got back in the good graces of the staff after the New England game, kind of reclaimed his spot a little bit. But going into next year, McKenzie's I'm sure, gonna get a real shot to do something on this team. Well, I think they have good coaches. I mean, they have coaches who've been there. Al, I think Reed's been he's been there so long. I'm not saying they don't have good coaches. I mean, Spagnuolo's coached in Super Bowls, won Super Bowls. So, how you doing, Utz? How you doing, bro? And again, you got to look at the fact. I mean, they won the game. They didn't close it out. That's the way I look at it. Did the Chiefs win? Yes, but the Bills, they won. They just didn't close the show. Oh God! And they eventually got it, and they're still spinning their tires. They got a Super Bowl though, Trevor. They did get a Super Bowl, but he just kind of was there, didn't find the quarterback, was with McNabb a little while, played around with Vic, and then got Mahomes, and now he's a genius. I remember all the time Reed was talked about. You'd hear about the things about what would go on in Philadelphia because Philly's. It's only like an hour and a half drive down the turnpike from here, and they played the Giants in the division here, so you'd hear about them all the time as Reed's a choke artist. You don't look at all these stupid decisions, yada yada yada. So again, the league has evolved in the last 15 years, so let's not forget that too. The way guys go for it a lot, they're a lot more aggressive. It's just a different game. Some of the rule changes. It's hard to talk about those games and then and now. I'm going to read some of your comments, guys. Do you think Peterson could? It's possible, Trevor. I mean, they have a history. Him and Pat Shurmur have a history. Being talked about schemes of other people that they thought gave them problems on defense that they might like to have. So that was an interesting turn. And then when Josh talked, he really gave a strong endorsement to Ken Dorsey. And he also, Bean and both McDermott and then Allen himself, but mostly Beane and McDermott obviously definitely said that Josh would be in the loop on who the OC will and will not be. So when you have a quarterback of that caliber, you behoove yourself. You're not just going to make a hire without his blessing. Do I think Levi comes back? I do, but under the right circumstances, Zach. Money, years. I do think they want to upgrade the athleticism at that position. I'll just say that. I think they would like a better athlete at that position. I think the time has come that you add an athlete to that number 2 corner spot, like an elite athlete. And not just for the Chiefs either. Not just for the Chiefs. The way these receivers are in this league, Miami's got good receivers. Despite Tua, they have good receivers. Devontae Parker, Waddle, Preston Williams, when he's got his head on straight, they have good receivers. Elijah Moore is a nice receiver for the Jets. That kid's good. So you've got to if you could pick your poison, he could go, but is he going to stay and coach Josh Allen, or he'd have to not get a? If he goes, it's because the Bills want him to go. The Bills would have to grant him permission. I read some of your comments, guys. Do I think McKenzie could be I think McKenzie developed a lot, and McKenzie's been catching passes from Allen longer than anybody. He's still young. He's very, very versatile. He is a gadget player that can flash. He's, sometimes I feel like sometimes he's underutilized, but then there's times I feel like he doesn't have quite the focus he needs 24/7, 365. But then when he flashes, it's like, oh shit, because he does have a lot of speed. He stretches the defense horizontally, vertically. So he's an interesting guy to have. But then again, remember Marquez Stevenson was drafted in the 5th round by them, and they eventually brought him up, even though they put him on the shelf at the end of the year. Remember that he's there. Don't forget about him. Nick McLeod is the same way. He's an undrafted free agent, a guy that they brought back from the Bengals after they released him on their 53. Picked off a few passes in the preseason. Levi Wallace was an undrafted free agent. Same as this kid. So, the Bills are at that point where you got to start thinking about money, thinking about who's in, who's out, who you've gone so far with, who you need to upgrade from. We get attached to these players, but sometimes you do need better. And I love what they've done. It's not to denigrate any of them. Read some of your comments, guys. What's the word? I mean, it's, for me, from Sean, it's Daboll's job. But there's former Giants, namely Brian Flores' teammates from Boston College, Matthias Kiwanuka, Chris Snee, who's Tom Coughlin's son-in-law, and John Mara himself, who went to Boston College, but mainly his former teammates and Phil Simms, for some reason, are really pushing him to hire Brian Flores. That's the little bit that I know. But the little bit that I heard that, it's Daboll. Sean wants Daboll to have it. But now he's getting pushback. The guy just took the job. And this is what happens in organizations like this. A lot of my Giant friends are really upset because they're starting to hear these things and they don't like the owner messing around. But that's their issue, man. That's their issue. It's not the Bills' issue. But, I'll read some of your comments, guys. Was looking at the snap counts, especially from the D-end rotation. Last time we faced the Chiefs in the playoffs. That was the MO when we faced the Chiefs in the playoffs. Look at Hughes. With that said, just miss getting to Mahomes explains a lot. We really don't have to change from last year. Love what Hughes has done here. Yeah, man, it's just it's time for him. It's at that time, man. It's just time for him to go. he revised his career with the Bills. He was kind of viewed as a bust first round pick with the Colts. He came to the Bills in 2013. He carved out a nice niche for himself. He's been a really nice Bill for a very, very long time. But it's just you're kind of at that point, even with an older player like Addison who came in. It's time. It's time. It's time to turn that over. That's just the way of the world. It's the way of the league. It's time for Basham. It's time for Epinesa. It's time for Rousseau. It's their time now. So you just look at the way they spoke though about certain players at the press conference, and then you just got that same vibe that they know that it's time for these young guys to go this off season, rest up, and then come back with a renewed sense of what they need to do as professionals. I know I do. I forget all the time. I'm sitting here watching these games, and it's like I said this in the video. I said Rousseau, it's like this kid has played more football this year at the highest level than he's had in his whole life, and he didn't play all of last year. And then you look at our offensive line. If I would have told you the beginning of the year, oh yeah, Spencer Brown and then Tommy Doyle are going to be key contributors of our offensive line come season's end, it would have been like, oh shit, something bad happened. Well, it was rough there, and then it got good at the end. I mean, our offensive line wasn't an issue at all, and it was due to those guys. I mean, Tommy Doyle as an extra tackle, they were only carrying one tight end on the game day roster because he was the extra blocker. He was the tackle eligible, and he was doing a damn good job. And Spencer Brown, for a rookie, again, like Rousseau, who didn't play at all the prior year, coming from the school he came from, Northern Iowa, that kid's only going to get better. That kid is going to get really good. I mean, he's going to he's going to come back a different player and for the better. So I'm excited for that. Anytime you can have linemen like that, that's a good thing. That is, I can sit back and it makes me smile a little bit. Anybody who keeps Josh on their feet and can move the line, that's a great problem to have. Yeah, Al, and you could tell that's what Bean was talking about at the end of the press conference. Well, not the end, kind of in the middle. He was just like, those guys need to, develop. They need to take a jump. They're young, but they had some older guys in front of them. But this is their time now. I wouldn't go that far yet. I mean, the kid's a captain. He gets a lot of flack because he hasn't made the splash plays. But personally, Daboll Trevor. But Edmonds is a good player. He's a good player. He just hasn't made the splash plays that everybody wants. And I get that. I want him to make splash plays. But looking at everything in totality, the way he talked about Starr. And I think we could all agree Starr was playing well before he got sick, came back, didn't look right. Harrison then took the jump and played extremely well, a guy that we could all have considered could have cut him, and we would have been like, whatever. And then Zimmer got hurt, and that disrupted the chemistry of the line. But Harrison, again, came in and really just settled that thing down. And then Oliver was playing well at the end of he was playing well throughout the year, but at the end of the year, he was really, the sacks started to come. In the beginning of the year, the sacks weren't there. At the end of the year, those sacks started to come. It's like Basham. Basham, how many times was he inactive? So inactive quite a bit, including the playoffs. He still racked up 3.5 sacks. I think he hit the quarterback 9 times. So again, in a full-time role with a full off season and a season under his belt, I think he's going to, and we all thought he was going to be the guy instead of Rousseau. Rousseau started off hot, hit the rookie wall, started ramping it back up a little bit at the end, strip sack in Atlanta, against Atlanta and Buffalo. So I think those guys are going to take a jump. I wouldn't want those guys getting knocked off the field by an older, slower player just with a name. I don't want just an in-name only signing. oh, this guy looks good. He used to be great. Then he's a step slow. He just came for the money. I don't want that. Read some of your comments, guys. I will agree, Trevor. I'm sorry, Frank. They need a guy who can be a hammer. They need I like Motor, but they need a guy who can pound between the tackles. Yeah. And again, Al, he's 23 and he didn't play. I mean, this is his 5th year as a middle linebacker in the league. His instincts are touch and go. They've gotten better. Like this year was his best year. Instinctually, this was his best year. And I know the game was what it was on Sunday, but we are nitpicking the number 1 defense in the league. But that's our standard now. We're not also rants anymore. We're not, how many times did we all sit and talk, and I would argue with you, Al, about Tyrod, or I would, where are we going to get a quarterback? And we talk about quarterbacks. Well, that's gone. We live in a different world now as a football team, as fans. We live in Shangri-La now from that standpoint, where we are where a lot of teams wish they could be. Like if you go on Cleveland Sports Talk Radio 92.3 The Fan and you hear them talk about missing out on Josh Allen, Baker needs to get his head on straight and worry about being better, and hearing the talk about them missing out on Josh Allen. Former Bill Dustin Fox tweeted out something about the quarterback play on Sunday, and then Baker Mayfield liked it, turned into a big deal. We're the team that has the quarterback that a lot of people wishes they had. That's a great feeling, guys. That's a great feeling. Read some of your comments really quick. It shocked me. Hughes all season, only 18 tackles, 4 for loss, 2.5 sacks. Everyone in the rotation. Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of pressures. He got the quarterback off his spot, but just the finish wasn't there. And again, like we forget, like you got to sack the quarterback. Getting those negative plays, getting tackles for losses, those are huge. And just the consistency. They default to the younger player, the older player. I get it, but it's Basham's time now. It's his time. It's Rousseau's time. We played some of the worst quarterbacks. Again, you play who you play, Al. You play who you play, man. It's just you can't pick and choose. Davis Mills the week after against the Patriots, who had a very good defense, almost beat them. Bills made him look like trash. Mac Jones, for the most part, looked good against most other teams. Bills picked him off, 4 times? Had 1 touchdown pass. A rookie. Styles make fights, Al. You like to box, right? Look what the Patriots have done to Justin Herbert, a guy everybody feels is a great young quarterback. Talked about him above Allen. Go look at his last 2 games. I've mentioned this. They're ugly. Allen just seems to eat the Patriots alive. Weather permitting, he eats the Patriots alive. Even when it's cold, doesn't matter. So it's just weird. Tua played well, ended up beating a bunch of teams. They went on a 7-game winning streak. Couldn't beat the Bills for love of money. Was terrible against the Bills. How many? Like 3 interceptions. Got knocked out of the 1 game. Just not good. Beat the Patriots twice. Again, you play who you play. I mean, so it's an easy stat to say you played some of the worst quarterbacks in the league, but when it comes down to it, I mean, they held Mahomes well the first part of the year. Only passed for 270, had 2 interceptions. I think he had a sack fumble. So the defense did what it had to do. to get them where they were all season. You know, given a lot of young linemen, a lot of fluctuation on the line, losing Trey White, I give them, and playing Dane Jackson again. It's like an undrafted free agent at Levi Wallace, and then you have a 7th-round pick who was a practice squad player who was cut, brought back, who was the other starter for the last 6, 7 games of the year, and they were this close to going to the Super Bowl with that. And we all felt confident that they would have won with that. So I'm not taking that away from them, man. Read some of your comments, guys. Really don't understand why these pass rushers can't finish. It's like Tyler Heinicke. I can't remember how many times they had Heinicke caught up in those games, and he just squiggled out. It's just sometimes you can get the quarterback down. I mean, Zach Wilson's a decent athlete, can move around. Bills brought him down 9 times. It's just it's some days they're falling for you. Some days the quarterback is like a damn worm on a hot rock, and you can't get him down. He did play very well, all things considered. What's up, Manzolo? How you doing, man? I know, man. I know a lot of you guys still hurting. I know a lot of you guys are you're like up, you're down, it's front to back. I feel you. I've been, that's where I'm at. Yeah, that they don't, man, because you hit the quarterback, you feel like you got a sack, and next thing you know, Zach, you get a flag, you hit him low. I think that happened to Oliver. Oliver brought the quarterback down. He thought it was a sack, and then it was like, oh, he hit the quarterback low or something like. It was just the stupidest. What can you do? I mean, if it's egregious and the guy is trying to gator roll the guy's knees or his ankles or be some malicious, I get it. If he's trying to like blows to the head with the helmet, I get it. But some of these are just kind of like ridiculous. Sure, we're the number 1 D in the league at the same problem the Texans playoffs. Relatively unchanged defensively. Frazier looks good on the coattails of a tremendous. Well, they're part of the defense. They were the first additions to this defense along with Trey. I mean, he was the first pick. They were the first free agent additions. I mean, they're part of it. I mean, they're all constituents of it. You can't separate the two. I mean, he coordinates the defense that they play in. So, I mean, maybe in other places they wouldn't be as good, but with the Bills, they're good. So I just think on that day, what we saw were 2 great quarterbacks going toe to toe. And when those quarterbacks are firing on all cylinders, one's got to win and one's got to lose. And I feel like the Bills won, but just did not close the show. Our guy did what he had to do. They just did not close the show. Exactly, Frank. Some guys have to, like, they just don't show up, and it's like, look at the reverse of that. You could come in like a shooting star, but you can fall, and your fall is ugly, man. One of the ugliest ones I've ever saw was RG3. If you watch RG3 his rookie year, wow, did that guy look like a phenom. That guy looked like he was going to be sensational. And you see that picture of him and Luck standing next to each other. I think it was at the national championship game between Georgia and Alabama. It was just sad. It was just sad. It's like you look back, it's like 2012. Those guys were 1-2 picks back-to-back quarterbacks. You think they're going to be in the league for like 15 years each, and that's it. They're gone. It's crazy, man. Oh, God, yeah. You saw how they looked on the sideline. You saw the looks on their defense. They know. I mean, why do you think Patrick Mahomes runs to Josh Allen and gives him a hug? It's like, yo, dude, fuck. And I just think with Allen, Allen's got that killer in him. He's just going to he's going to play this game over and over and over again in his head. And when he walks onto the field for next year, and when he probably opens the season wearing that Buffalo Bills throwback red helmet, 90s version jersey, number 17, everybody in that stadium is going to be losing their shit, and he's going to just ball the fuck out. So did Ingram. Just they know the kid they know he's the shit. All those dudes that said he was trash, garbage, mostly the pundits, the naysayers, the players in the league know. You just listen to the players and they know. But, everybody had their finger on the panic button. I don't think there's no need to panic. Our team is in a good spot. There's a few moves here and there that need to be made. Look at Dawson Knox. I thought Dawson Knox would have a good season. I was thinking, if this kid can give us 35 catches, 400 plus yards, maybe 4 to 6 touchdowns, we're good. This guy had 11 touchdowns, had, I think, what he had, like 60 catches in total, including the playoffs, like 600 yards plus, including the playoffs. And if you go back to the end of last year, not this past year, he's got 16 receiving touchdowns in like 20-something games. And this is a guy who didn't score 1 touchdown in his entire college career, played 2 years at tight end at Ole Miss, converted quarterback. I just think that next year we're going to see another jump from him. We're going to see him take another jump. More nuanced route running, more, just a lot more decisive, a lot more in sync with Josh. This will be their 4th year together. Josh trusts him. He makes tough catches. The drops there's the odd drop here and there, but they're nothing like they used to be. I mean, some of the catches he made against the Pats in that weather were sensational. So RG wasn't the kind of quarter. Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. If you're ever bored, Mike Shanahan has interviews where we went through, basically, Rock thought he should be a quarterback instead. Yeah, I remember hearing some stories about that, how his father went to the owner and said that they want him to be a pocket passer, and they were like, he's not ready. He needs to develop. And then Mike and Kyle were there, and also McVay was there. I even think Matt LaFleur was there, and they were just like, no. And then the owner was pushing that, and then it just turned into a big. So, I mean, that's the destructive. Maybe RG3 could have been great if everybody was on the same page. But we watched an organization with Allen be on the same page with the quarterback working his ass off, doing whatever he has to do to be great. He just didn't happen because he had the talent. He worked at it. Look at Daniel Jones. I mean, their owner basically said 3 years in, we've done everything to screw this kid up. We've done him no favors. Think about that. Could be in that spot. And that kid has athleticism. He has arm talent. He has size. But, that's, now he's going to be on 3 head coaches, 4 offensive coordinators. Just that's how you ruin a young player. And we don't live in that world. I just think it comes down to money, Al. I just think it comes down to money. Yeah, Buffalo. Buffalo Bob. That's a good way to put it, man. It's just this team. Again, I look back. And I know I hate to invoke the old Bills teams, but there's, you look at KC. They're 8 years into Reed's regime. Veach was a young kid. A lot of the team, a lot of the decisions they make, Reed puts his rubber stamp on. Reed was hired before John Dorsey was there, before any of their front office people were there. He's pretty much the GM. I don't care who they say their GM is. Brett Beach was a kid who just was Andy Reid's neighbor here in a suburb, New Jersey, South New Jersey suburb. He took him with him to KC after he got fired, and and then it was a gracious firing too. With the Eagles, it wasn't acrimonious at all. It was a very, very nice separation. It wasn't ugly. And when he went to KC, he got the job rather quickly. He brought Beach with him, brought a lot of guys with him, and so but Reid is the guy there. He everything is with him. The Redskins had such a good, yeah, man. They had a crazy, crazy, crazy unit. Knox, Davis should grow even more. Forget about. Think we're a bit slow and undisciplined at linebacker. I think they're fine there. They've signed. He's got his 5th-year option picked up. Most and Milano they just paid, and they're a nickel team. I'm sorry, yeah, pretty much a nickel team. So again, I'm not gonna knee jerk there at all because of one thing. Of course you are, Soda. Thanks, I appreciate that, man. You'll put yourself back together again. Again, Trevor said he's been working out. Just keep his head on straight. I would implore you guys to do a lot of try to just channel it to a positive thing. As much as you can, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. But yeah, man, they have players on this team, and this team's not just it's not like a flash in a pan team. This isn't the Jaguars of 2000 and what was that, the 2016 Jaguars, just Bortles. This isn't that team. This isn't, even Tennessee. They've beaten the Bills a couple of times, but where are they going to go with Ryan Tannehill in the long view? They're kind of like wasting the talents of the guys they have on their team. AJ Brown, how long before he gets frustrated? It's like, yo, what the fuck? Henry comes back for this basically for nothing. So some of their defensive players, like Harold Landry, who's a very good pass rusher. Wayne Simmons is really, the Simmons guy is really, really good. And so I don't think it's the same as Wayne Simmons. I really do, man. I really, really do. That was the playoff game. Ran for 70 yards, man. I remember that. But our defense, we were just not ready. Yeah, he's got the anointing oil, Frank. I mean, there's nothing against the kid. But again, you look at him and you see some of the weapons he has. Ja'Marr Chase is a 5th overall pick, a guy he played with at LSU. I mean, the chemistry is already there. The talent is undeniable. But, you see a kid who gets sacked a lot. He's already had his knee tore up. He takes a lot of sacks. He doesn't have to. But the media likes him. And when the media likes you, it gives you a berth to just get away with a lot of things that other quarterbacks, like Allen, like some others that maybe aren't as good as Allen, like Daniel Jones, for example. Like if that kid just trips, it's like, oh, ho, ha, ha. But if, certain quarterbacks do certain things, it's kind of like, oh, well, he's young, he's still learning, blah, 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 blah. So that when the media likes you, you get away with a lot. I knock Herbert a lot. That kid is really good. I mean, that game against they lost that game. That game against the Raiders was amazing. That was an amazing game, and that kid played. That was just great. I mean, if you're a Dolphin fan and you watch Justin Herbert, you must be sick to your stomach watching Justin Herbert. Sick. What do I think of Lamar? I think Lamar at his peak, he's everything that he doesn't have the arm talent he's bigger than they were, but he's starting to get injured. He's starting to get hurt because he runs a lot. He's explosive. It's a lot of sudden stop, start, change of direction. He takes a lot of hits. He's not as big as Allen, let's just say. He's not the passer Allen is. It's not even close. Like they're just Pluto to the sun, different level passers. And I just think he's a guy, he got injured against the Bills in the playoff game. Now, how many games? He missed like 6, 7 games this year. They played pretty well with Tyler Huntley. Contract time for him. How come nobody talks about how bad he's in Jacksonville, Trevor? He's in Jacksonville. It's like, why is that team in the league? Did any of you know? I don't know. Like, why? Why do they exist? I know they beat the Bills. They got their little 9-6 win. Great. They have no fan base. They have a logo. They have a uniform. They draft players. They're always in the top 5 drafting players. And then what happens? Nothing. Al, what changes do you think we make next year, roster-wise, coaching staff-wise, roster-wise? The way Beane talks, it's always going to be additions on both offensive and defensive lines. That's, I would say anywhere, definitely in the middle, we'll see another body or 2 that wasn't there. Definitely an edge player. I can definitely see a corner coming in, a young corner or 2, and offensive linemen. I don't know if you guys ever watched the I just saw the clip. If you guys watched the or just saw the clip of the Dave Portnoy show, he had Greg Olsen on, and if you guys remember, Greg Olsen was thinking about signing with the Bills because of his Carolina ties. His tight end coach is there with the Bills now that was in Carolina. Even Bobby Babich, who's the linebacker coach for the Bills, was in Chicago when he was in Chicago back in 06, 07. So there was a lot of familiarity there. But Allen hadn't quite shown what he showed yet. It was just the beginning of the 2000 season. He chose to go play in Seattle with Russell Wilson. And he was talking about that. And he's like, I'm not going to lie and sit around and not tell you I think about what could have been, if I had gone, because Allen hadn't shown what he showed. And, we saw it again this weekend. So he's like, I'll tell you right now, guys are going to want to go play there. He's like, take it from me as a player who's older in the league that wanted to get a chance to go play in a Super Bowl. Players are going to want to go play with that quarterback, whether it be defense or offense. Like, so you saw it, Al. You heard him say it. Now, do you remember that there was another tight end the Bills talked to that same offseason? Do you remember that? Yeah, it disappeared, Trevor. Isn't that funny? Frank just disappeared. They don't imagine. Do you think they want to lose one of these quarterbacks? Oh, no. No way. There was another tight end. Now, I don't know what's going on in Tampa. I'm not a fan of the guy after, all the shit that they've done against the Bills for the years, what he did to Trey. But they did entertain signing him in 2000 after he said he was going to come back and play. Chose to go play with Brady in Tampa for 2 years. If Brady doesn't come back, I would not be shocked if the Bills ask him again. Hometown team, 1-year deal. You know what Josh is capable of. You go get to stick it to Belichick twice a year. They talked to him back in 2020, and he even said as much. He had talked to the Bills in 2020. I forget what podcast it was or what was a pod show, like a show that goes to podcast as well as a show. But that would be crazy. that would be crazy. I still want to know why I went to Washington with that owner. I just think it was a league thing. The league was like, look, you need a good face in front of your organization. This is the right thing to do. I mean, Ron's a good guy. He'll give you some stability, some credibility. I just think that's why they do it. It's the same reason why back in the late 70s, the league made George Young go to the Giants because of the mess that was there, and he calmed everything down. That I think they couldn't do it like that, but a similar way. It's disappearing because no one is at risk of admitting to have symptoms. No, I mean, who would? I mean, if you're gonna, what are you gonna say? You have a dude. One of the most famous games in sports is called the flu game. Everybody in the world knew Jordan had the flu. It's like the most famous game in the world, and everybody knew he had symptoms who watched the damn thing. And crazy. I think I had it. I think I had it like a month and a half back. I was still going to the gym running 4 miles. I couldn't breathe, but I was going. I'll read some of your comments. Sue's going to be a free agent. Nah, not a lot of guys are going to stay there. Those type of guys are just going to go. Maybe he retires. Maybe I know he owns a bunch of restaurants, Al. Like maybe he goes. He's just going to do the 1 year thing here or there. Would I bring Obata back? Yeah, for the right price. I think he played well in spots. He's versatile inside out. I mean, for the right price. Now, if you can get an upgrade, you definitely upgrade. Is Morse gone soon? Maybe. He played really well, though. I'm not going to lie. Morse was very consistent for them. He had one little rough patch along with the rest of the line, but he played really well, especially at the end of the year. So I'm not sure. Maybe they renegotiate. He seems to love playing there. We'll see. Do I think the Browns keep Baker? I don't know what you always, you know what it is Frank, is what's your plan B? And how realistic is it? What's plan B? How realistic is it? Trevor Lawrence gets a pass because oh my God, what a mess. I mean, anybody, see, that's what I mean. Any geek off the street, Al, could have told anybody. If like you go on my Twitter timeline and just when they hired Urban Meyer, I was just like, do these people not like they have a $1 billion business? Like you have a multi-billion-dollar business, the NFL. How do you not know what a shit show Urban Meyer is? Like, are you just willfully ignorant to it? You just don't think you're going to be impervious to it? Like every stop he's made as a coach, like he leaves nothing but shit in his wake. So there's a pattern there. You're not going to be immune to it. Fucking the league is proliferated with snake oil salesmen. That's the problem. Go look up Jack Easterby. Go look that guy up on YouTube and watch his comedy show. That's the guy who runs stuff in Houston. You know who the Bills might bring back on staff, and he was good with Josh in his rookie year. I mean, he was a good dude. You can't lie and say he didn't do good work with Davis Mills this year. Cully. They might bring him back as like a quarterback coach or something along those lines, because I felt like he got unjustly fired. That was really fucked up what they did to him. Did you see that? Yeah. Did they get rid of him? Or did that just happen, Trevor? That must have just happened. I don't see that if it just happened, it wouldn't surprise me, but I didn't see that it had happened recently, because when I'm on here, I'm not really on Twitter doing any scrolling or anything like that. Yeah, he got really fucked over. I'll read some of your comments, guys. I couldn't stop laughing at Skip Bayless. Baker. When did he say Skip? He's an old drunk. Like I think these guys they're intellectually dishonest. They just go on TV and lie because they know they're going to draw a reaction from it. They can't be honest. They have to create clickbait and buzz with bullshit hot takes. So that's why I've never sat down and watched a minute of that guy. That wasn't like a little snippet somebody didn't post on Twitter or something or send to me. The guy has never said anything smart ever. Yeah, that's what he is. He's a troll. I don't know if he comes back. When does he come back? I mean, who's gonna want him back? I mean, that guy's got a lot of issues, man. You're going to put that guy in your uniform and have one of those allegations end up being true. That's in this climate nowadays, you're playing with fire. And then you risk something else happening again, and then you're really fucked. Somebody's really playing with fire. I mean, if Godspeed with that. I'm going to read some of your comments, guys. What about Sean Payton saying sayonara with, oh, that's typical. Like, hey, I'm going to peace out. See, there you go. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have you live without a quarterback for the last. And let's be honest, Drew Brees wasn't Drew Brees the year before last. His arm was gone. They were just playing a smoke and mirrors offense. I mean, this last year with Winston, Hill, Simeon, they had that one Ian Book game, which was horrible. There was that little period at the end of the year where everybody was testing positive for this shit, and quarterback, it was just like, that was criminal. That kid should have not been on an NFL field. He was just not. That was terrible. So I guess Byron Leftwich is coming in, and he wanted Balky gone. I mean, if that happens, I mean, that's good luck to him, man. That's a hell of an organization to try to work in. Oosh. Can you imagine? I see Sean Payton to me is like, I don't know, like I don't know, he played in a dome, he had a dome quarterback. I don't know, like I just think the league is going in a different direction. You see some of the play callers, the young play callers, you know, they're in their mid 30s to early 40s. They're doing different things. I mean, you got Sean Payton who's pushing 60. What's his health like? So I just, you know, I'm not discounting him. Won a Super Bowl, put up some great numbers with Brees, again, in a dome mostly. So, you know, again, with Josh in an outdoor climate, that type, I mean, you couldn't put two quarterbacks next to each other and have them be so different. It's not even funny. Yeah, he was gone, Al. He just went poof. He pieced out of that one. That's crazy. That was disgusting what they did to him, Frank. That they had. You know what's funny? If you're a Notre Dame student, I live here in Jersey City, and I remember going to high school games, St. Peter's Prep, and I saw Brandon Winbush, and his teammate was Minka Fitzpatrick. And it was just basically Winbush would scramble and run. He would hand it to Minka. He would throw it to Minka. And then he would scramble and run, or he would throw it deep to Minka. That was their whole offense. I remember that a while back. What's up, Matt? How you doing, bro? I've never been a play guy, Matt. I saw one play in my whole life, Jersey Boys. I'm from Jersey. I had to see it. It was kind of a birthday present, so I had to go. But it was good. It was really good. Yeah, he always seemed fickle. I don't know if him and the Bills are big with fit and culture fit. And I mean, everybody thinks Daboll came from the outside. Yeah, Daboll also was a William Mary intern. That was Sean Payton's alma mater. So they knew Jimmy Laycock. They had a connection. So he had, they had that tie. And so I'm sure they were able to get close with that. The same way they're close. I mean, he was college teammates with Mike Tomlin, for Christ's sake, Sean McDermott, which is crazy. You could really tell Brees was done. Yeah, it was sad. It was just like his arm was shot. How about former? Yeah, it's crazy, Trevor. I had heard early in the year that he was for some reason it was almost like he's going to get a job. I mean, I have it on my Twitter, and that was back in the owners' meetings, I believe in October, that he was the name, and then he's one of the first guys, him and Eberflus. And I'll say this: Eberflus for the Colts was good, and they gave the Bills fits. I know the Bills beat them in the playoffs year before last, and they beat up on the Bills this year and gave Josh a rough game. And even though they went and lost, I mean, it was crazy. It's crazy how the Colts and the Bills seasons are so interconnected. The Bills beat them in the playoffs last year. they have to make a quarterback change. They get Wentz. You got Frank Reich, the former Bill, you know, comes back to Buffalo the next year. He's having dinner with former Bills teammates because they played together. They beat up on the Bills. You see him in the locker room saying how great it feels. He loves it. Because you know what? I think in his heart of hearts, Frank wanted that job. When it was up for 2017, I think Frank Reich wanted that job. I believe he interviewed for the job once, but I think he might have still been with San Diego when they were in San Diego at the time. I'm not sure. And then they both go to this terrible team in Jacksonville and lose like the most like head scratching games that you could ever imagine. Like both teams are clearly better on the field, on paper, and they go down to Jacksonville and have the worst possible stinker you could ever imagine. Like the Bills just couldn't get out of their own way. And then if you look at the scoreboard for a bad team, the Jags just ran away with the game. And then the Colts couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't get the running game going. Wentz couldn't do anything. He threw some bad interceptions. And that was it. That was for a playoff spot. Everybody thinks they're just going to go in there and just, hey, they're going to go to the playoffs. Nope. They got sent right home. Right home. Non-football question. I'm trying to get back fit as I finish college. Diet and water, dude. Simplest things, man. Make sure you get as much sleep as possible. Take it from a 45-year-old man. That's the best thing I could say with you. Lift weights, light and lovely, not heavy and horrible to start. You'll just get, alactic and be sore and not want to do it. Just, don't ignore the cardio either. Light and lovely, not heavy and horrible. Keep it simple. Don't look at all the Instagram bullshit, all the little gimmicks and hype. After Bounty Gate, it seemed like the Saints couldn't get any breaks from the league, especially on all those. Yeah, man, it's like the Raiders. It's like the Raiders. The Al Davis sued the league back in the 60s so they can draft players, the AFL, NFL. And if you look, I've said this so many times on these streams or on my recordings, you look throughout the annals of history, whether it's the Holy Roller, the Tuck Rule, the Immaculate Reception, the whistle, the whistle that was in Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. Like everybody heard it, but nothing happened. The touchdown was good, legit touchdown, but by the letter of the law, the play should have been stopped. Read some of your comments. Frank said he wants home field advantage next year. He also, I love how the coaching staff still asks the old Bills greats for advice and help. Yeah, of course they do, man. I mean, they know the community, they know the climate of the community. They know just the culture of the team. They've been there and they've done that, and they're willing to give them that advice. The old Bills regimes didn't want the old Bills players around. They'd have Kelly here and there. They'd have Thurman, but the other guys like Talley, really, really outspoken guys, they wouldn't have nowhere near. Now they have Talley doing commercials for them, in Christ's sake. Yeah, I like Frank. I like Frank Reich. I mean, I'll always have a soft spot for Frank, man. I'll always have a soft spot for that guy. I'm one of my really close friends. He's a police officer now. I'd known him since he was like 17 years old. He was working at a desk at a gym I go to. Now he's a cop. Yeah, Julian, he's a big Colts fan. And he tells me, I root for the Bills, even though I'm a Colts fan. If they're not playing the Colts, I root for the Bills because, Frank's a former Bill. You're my friend. You're a Bills fan. So, yeah, yeah, they have. I mean, man, you look at 2018. How could things have changed if the Colts knew? The Colts know Luck is going to retire right after that year. The Browns passed on Josh Allen twice. Look at the Giants. The Giants know what the quarterback situation is. No, they pass on Josh Allen. They only get one more year out of Eli. He plays 2 more games. He's gone. The Jets. They trade up, they bomb on Sam Darnold. Again, fourth was Cleveland, so twice. Denver, where they had a quarterback. They were going to trade with the Bills for Christ's sake. And then you have the Colts at 6 who took Quentin Nelson. Great pick. They thought he's going to be blocking for Andrew Luck for a decade. Nope. It's gone. 1 year. And then trade up. Those are the types of decisions that set teams back decades, man. Decades. And it was to our benefit. It was really to our benefit, you know? I mean, Matt, if you read my comments, bro, I hate that guy. I cannot stand that guy. Year in and year out, that crew is fucking terrible. Terrible. I forget what Bills game that they did last year and the year before last, but it was just like the game became unwatchable. Yeah, they passed on him. Think about this, Trevor. They passed on him, right? They passed on him to take Bradley Chubb. They had Von Miller at the time, but they also let a guy go in free agency to take Bradley Chubb because I think DeMarcus Ware just retired or something like that. But they let Shaq Barrett go in free agency. They didn't know who, Shaq Barrett. He's a rotational pass rusher. We're gonna stick with who'd they stick with at quarterback that year? Was it Drew Lock wasn't there? Was it Paxton Lynch? Could have been Trevor Siemian. No, Joe Flacco. Remember, they had made the trade for Joe Flacco. So basically, they passed on a chance to draft Josh Allen because they had just traded for Joe Flacco. Wow. Passed on Fields as well. Quite a few. I mean, he's missed on a few, and Josh is his clone, which is the crazy thing. Josh Allen is his clone. They are exactly alike. I don't know. From what I heard, Neil, that was Mayfield all the way. Mayfield all the way. I'm gonna read some of your comments, guys. Let's put a comment in I missed. Neil put one in. Do you have any extra core strength? Planks, Palloff presses, just standing with like a resistance band or some weight that's pulling you and just hold that shit. And you'll feel it right here. You'll feel it in your hip flexors and your core. You'll feel your rectus abdominis fire. You'll feel it definitely. You don't have to do anything sexy. Most of the abdomen is diet, triggered by diet and hydration. Our line, Josh did not play a good game that game, Bonzolo. They were just so out of sync, so out of rhythm. That was the one game I felt like they were very complacent, lethargic. They thought they were just going to show up and win. And I think that game, they learned a lesson in that game. They learned a lesson in Tampa Bay. It's funny how we watch this team that's still young learn lessons throughout this entire year. Last year was a step. This year was a step. I'm sorry, Oates. I keep passing on your question. Your thoughts on who would be a great OC DC if Daboll or Frazier get? I think Ken Dorsey would. See, Fangio, I know he runs a more aggressive defense. It's not the same scheme as McDermott, so I don't know how that fit works. It's all about fit. I think Ken Dorsey, the way Allen talked about him, I mean, again, it's going to be up to Allen. If Ken Dorsey's the guy, he's a former quarterback. He played the game differently because he did not have Josh Allen's tools, couldn't run, definitely didn't have the arm. Had some size, but he won a lot of games in college because he played the game with his mind. And so I think it would be interesting to have a former quarterback calling a game for a quarterback who's got better skills than him. So if it's Ken Dorsey, it's Ken Dorsey. I'm not going to really worry about it too much in the terms of I think that Allen is so good. I don't think a coordinator will hold him back. Let's just put it that way. I love how the league pretended to push Jerome Boger's crew for a whistle game by not giving them another playoff game, even though most crews only get one playoff game. Except, it's Well, the media thought they did that too. They thought they had pushed him out too. He pushed on a lot, Trevor. He passed on a lot. I'm still trying to read some of your comments, guys. I'm highly questionable of McDermott's competence. He passed on Mahomes. Got lucky when Bean picked. Well, I think they all wanted him. I don't think they just the trades that happened were there before Bean. I mean, Oasis. It's the trades that they made. Bean was hired in May, so everything that was set in motion started with McDermott eventually getting rid of Brandon, a lot of the other snake oil salesmen that were there, drafting Trey White, Dion Dawkins, Matt Milano, a lot of the foundation, making the trade that eventually lands Josh Allen. I mean, if you want to hold his fat to the fire for 13 seconds, the turnaround has nothing to do with McDermott, Oasis. That's wow, bro. Bro, I mean, I don't think about that, man. That's now you're it's that's wild. You're talking wild now, man. You're talking wild now. Celtics with Larry Bird, a complete failure. Basic common sense. Why do you think Andy Reid didn't have Hill back on the kickoff? It's not shut. Well, they were supposed to kick off as a communication. It was supposed to squib it or just bang it in between the 10. It was a communication thing. Why do you think he uses the term execution? It's cover. He doesn't want to throw his players under the bus. I'll just put it this way, Oasis. If you're, it doesn't matter because he didn't think he was going to get a chance to return it. He didn't think he would. Why would he put Hill back there if he doesn't even think he's going to get a chance to return it? He's going to just hit it. He's just going to hang it high. He's going to hang it high and have the unit run down on him. He's not going to just he banged it out of the back of the end zone. He wasn't supposed to do that. Thad Brown put a picture of Siran Neal's face. Like, what the hell was that? Because you know what? I think it's a combination of things. I think it was euphoria on the sideline. Farwell communicated it to the coverage unit. The kicker didn't get it. I'm not absolving McDermott. They fucked up, dude. They fucked up. Dead ass, Oasis. They fucked up. But I'm not gonna sit here and fire everybody. He's not a rocket scientist, dude. I'm not gonna give Andy Reid credit for that. I'm not. The Bills lost that game on their own accord. Andy Reid can't make them play off coverage the way they did. Now, if you want to say they were scared of Tyreek Hill running past them again, 100%. They were fucking hard. They were horrified of it, Oasis. Horrified of it. I'll agree with that. Hill ran past them multiple times in that game. Was it 64 yards on the one before? Hell yeah. I'd be afraid. You're on the field with that team. Dude, you're just talking wild, man. 3 steps ahead. He wasn't 3 steps ahead when Josh Allen was going up and down the field. It's just that's the way it played out. They won. And the Bills did themselves no favors. Was he 3 steps ahead in week 4? No. So come on, man. It's just talking wild, man. Incompetent. Reid knew they would kick it out of the back of the end zone if Hill was back there. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. If you go on Twitter and you look at Siran Neal's face, he's surprised. It was not supposed to be kicked off back there. They were not supposed to kick it off. Now it ended up happening. But that's neither here nor there now. We can pontificate about it all we want. Now, when they started playing defense, That was terrible. The first play, obviously the second play. I mean, if you're a cornerback like Levi Wallace, I don't know why you're playing outside shade on Travis Kelce when he motions to the inside and you just leave him to run up the seam unabated 15 yards. That has nothing to do with anything other than a player. Just use common sense, man. Use common sense. That's all. Use common sense. Like, even me as a geek off the street, I'm like, I don't think I just want to let this dude run at me for 15 yards and catch a ball on the run. That was just stupid. Stupid, man. But, again, can't undo it. They lost the game. Full marks to the Chiefs. They did everything they had to do to win. They made some good plays when they had to. I mean, some great plays when they had to. I mean, especially on offense. I mean, but they'll be playing. They'll be playing again. I mean, Bills got a trip to Arrowhead next year, right? So we'll see. We'll see. But this is more of a therapy session, though, in the sense that just seeing how everybody's doing. Everybody, Bills fans, in terms of being a rough mental spot, it's a tough week because it's not an easy way to lose a game for the younger guys. This was their Music City Miracle. This was their wide right. I mean, but this team isn't old. Like, those teams were already older, even though that was their first Super Bowl. Jim Kelly was already 30, 31. I mean, Bruce was already going to be 30. So those teams are already kind of in their advanced state already, which is crazy. You don't think they are. The youngest player of the core was Thurman. He was the youngest. So, I mean, this team is in a completely different spot. It's a completely different spot. I mean, you look at Joe Burrow. He's just completed his first year. He's won 2 playoff games. He's going to play in an AFC Championship game. But in terms of age, he's 2 months younger than Josh Allen. And Josh is 4 years in. So experience-wise, it's crazy. Yeah, it's insane, dude. That's what Frank. I mean, in the moment, it's gonna always feel like that because you have to wait a whole bunch of time before they play again, and then you got to play a season, and then there's ebbs and flows in a season, and then you got to get into the playoffs, and then you got to win playoff games. So of course it's that, but people have destination disease, man. People always want the ending before the beginning, before the middle. They want to go right to the end. They want to get right to the rainbow, the pot of gold, and that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. Period. So, game Sunday was a modern day thrill in Manila. One team was going to win, one team was going to lose. Yeah, it's kind of like when I said boxing, I equated it to Holyfield Bowe. I mean, the greatest, in my lifetime, greatest heavyweight championship fight I ever saw. I mean, that trilogy, the first one in particular. I mean, guys that caliber hitting each other that hard for that long. Eventually, one's gonna win, one's gonna lose. I mean, so that's just the way it works. I mean, every team has deficiencies. There's no perfect team. Every team is. I'd always rather get a chance to go to the Super Bowl, Frank. I'll never say that. I always want a chance to go because there's no guarantee the Bills would have won against the Bengals. It's just wins aren't guaranteed in this league. You play teams, and they're professionals. They're talented as fuck. There's no doubt about it. Burrow wasn't picked first overall because he sucks. So he doesn't have talent. He has talent. He's good. He won a national championship. He resurrected himself. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, to be a transfer, to go from one Power 5 school to another, and then play the way he played. I mean, And that takes a lot. Same thing, Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is talented as hell. Look what he did to KC. Destroyed them. He's, there's no guarantee you win that game. So that's a hard team to play. Well, Doug Collins wasn't the same. I mean, Doug Collins is that's two different calibers of. And once Scottie Pippen got to the Bulls, I mean, that helped them. And all those other teams that you alluded to, those Celtic teams were already getting old. The Piston teams had their run. Jordan had to get over that hump. Should I remember when Dennis Rodman? This would have been like a flagrant two. Rodman would have been gone for 10 games. Pippen's going for a simple layup in Detroit, and here comes Rodman with the fucking forearm splits Pippen's. Such a different league than different now. It just takes getting over the hump. There's some people. Was Andy Reid playing chess and checkers when he was losing NFC championship games back in 2001, 2, 3? Was he playing checkers when he was doing that? Or chess? No, he was losing games in big spots. He was getting his team there, but I'm sure he learned from those moments. Reid was notorious for blowing games that were like considered, oh my God, like how did they lose that game? As a matter of fact, I think there was one that they did in the Chiefs. If I'm not mistaken, there was one for the Chiefs, not with this current quarterback, but I want to say it was around. Was it? No, couldn't have been then. He was hired. I have to give it a gander. Yep. When they blew that lead in Indianapolis, when they were up, what was it, 31 or 37 to 10 or 7, and they blew that lead in Indianapolis. Was he playing chess then, or what happened? You learn. You don't make mistakes. Shit, things change. Guys learn. I'm not saying it's transferable. I'm saying people learn. Like last year, McDermott got flamed for not going for it on 4th down, right? Bills fans were irate. There was one instance after halftime and one instance before halftime. They kicked the field goal instead of going for it. They were down, right? This game, they went for it 2 times on the first drive on 4th and got the touchdown. So, ergo, he learned. In New England, he just went for it. Didn't give a shit. Just went for it. Coaches learn, man. Some coaches don't. Some do. Again, I'm not absolving him. For a game, dude. For a game. You're talking about stuff that happened 4 years ago, 5 years ago, man. Like, and a lot of people passed on Mahomes. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the great Kyle Shanahan passed on Mahomes for Solomon Thomas. Yeah, who's he? They just traded three first-round picks for Trey Lance? They don't even know what he is. I'm not saying he's not going to be good. He's a kid. He's a kid, for Christ's sake. But come on, man. Nobody knew Patrick Mahomes was going to be what he was going to be. Nobody knew Allen was going to be what he was going to be. Come on, man. They just you can do these things. You can what? Where are the red flags, man? You're just talking. You're just talking like way reckless. I'll entertain it to a point, but then it just gets to be like, You need to get out of the Bills box. You need to go get out of the Bills box and go look around the league, man. Let me read some of the other comments, guys. KC's a legit team, man. I'm missing a lot of comments. I'm sorry, guys. He did. I mean, and Mahomes comes in. He's got a Hall of Fame play caller. Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach. Hall of Fame coach. Period. He's got the greatest track athlete to ever play, and he's got a Hall of Fame tight end. I mean, he had a quarterback who'd been through everything in Alex Smith, a guy who was considered a bust, first overall pick, and he had no pressure to play. And Alex Smith that was his best season statistically that year. I think they might have won a playoff game too that year with him. And then unfortunately, he gets injured when he goes to Washington. Horrific injury. Crazy story. But, and he's made the most of his opportunity. So no disrespect to Mahomes whatsoever, man. Some fringe people are saying that the whole NFL is rigged, that the athletes are paid to be silent. Dwight Smith came out and said Brady was a manufactured star. Oh, man, that's the same Dwight. Is that the same Dwight Smith that had the 2 interception returns for touchdowns in the Tampa Bay Raiders Super Bowl? Or is it the baseball player, Dwight Smith? It has to be the safety Dwight Smith. That's the only other Dwight Smith I know that played football. Sorry, I missed a lot of your comments, guys. I just think that's crazy. I mean, you're gonna paying off thousands of people year in and year out. I mean, somebody's gonna make a massive. Somebody's gonna talk. People, they can't keep a secret for 2 seconds. A secret of that magnitude, that's insane. There's some people that think everything is rigged, like life in itself is rigged. So it's easy to put Andy Reid on a pedestal now. He has a quarterback. I remember when Andy Reid was a bust. Belichick is 71 and 78 without Brady. I mean, the Patriot way. He's still a good coach. I'm not going to besmirch him. He's a great coach. I see you, Steve. I'm going to get to you right now. When I watched the game again, it felt like KC had the better D-line, corners, offensive weapons. Bills had Josh Diggs. Well, you forget Davis. I don't know so much about the offensive line, but the speed at the perimeter was definitely evident. I felt like their edge players had a bigger impact in the game. I felt definitely Ingram had an impact. I didn't see so much. I mean, Frank Clark, but the push in the middle wasn't really there. And in the second half, Allen wasn't really pressured as much. I mean, the one play on 4th down in the 4th quarter, I mean, he had pressure and he got away from it. I read some of your comments, guys. Nobody's saying different, Oasis. He fucked up. That's it. Period. My cat is rigged. Is mine? Where is he? He's over there. He's asleep over there. I can't see him. Yeah, you can't change that. I mean, there's a lot of people that have just bad buildings. I mean, with the Bengals, for example, they have Burrow. I'll just say this about Mike Brown. They don't even have an indoor practice facility. They practice in the stadium or they practice underneath a bridge in the fields they have next to the stadium there in Cincinnati. And I think they just upgraded their weight room for the first time since 1994, 3 years ago. He's notoriously frugal. Generally sits on anywhere between $35 to $40 million in cap per year. It's pretty much a family business. I mean, most people would be hard pressed to name their GM. He's been there for like 25 years, Duke Tobin. But they draft high a lot. They've had quarterbacks, Dalton, Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer retired rather than stay. So I'm saying Cincinnati has a nice little team now, but with Mike Brown as their owner, he doesn't really like to put resources into the team. And I remember when Bean talked, he talked about the resources he got from the Pegulas, and it's very different. It's very different. Read some of your comments, guys. If it was Brady, how do you not get bailed out? McDermott, I want a serious consider. Oh my God, Sean Payton. So how about when Sean Payton blew it against Alex Smith? When Alex Smith just, when's the last time Sean Payton went to since 09? How many times has he gotten? How about when he went to 7-9 in Seattle and got rocked by Marshawn Lynch up and down the field and lost? I think what were they? 11-5? So they went on the road to Seattle and got boat raced out of there. The first Beastquake run. Really? You're like, so you want a guy who wants to retire, a snake oil salesman who just wants to go poke like that. That's just crazy. Now you're just talking crazy. Impact. Well, I hope some of our younger players can take that step that we saw Dawson Knox take, or Gabe Davis continues to take. That's what I hope. Like especially Oliver took another big step this year, and next year is what, 19, 20, 21, 22. This is year 4, so hopefully he takes another big jump, another massive jump. Now, if he wants to talk, let him talk. It's all good. You don't have to ask him to stop. It's just, everybody has a difference of opinion. It's some people, again, everybody's upset. Everybody has their own take on it. Like everybody wants their bowl of blood to just make them feel better in the moment. I mean, again, I've seen coaches that are considered great coaches make some fucking boondoggles. I just think I think ultimately it's McDermott. Obviously, he's the head coach. It falls on him. But there was some things that were not communicated correctly from the assistants to the players, and then we saw the result. That's all. Dick Duran back. I don't know why would it hide that, because you put the word dick. Yeah, Sean's health looked bad, man. To be honest with you, Trevor, when he was at the Bills game, he looked really, really sick. He just didn't look well. His face looked really flush. His eyes looked like little bloodshot. Like he did not look well. I see Calvin Ridley, dude. I just, why would you give a second round guy for a guy who just quit on his team? Says he has mental issues. Okay, I respect that, whatever. But that's all. I just, so why is Sean Payton a better fit? He doesn't want to coach, number one. Number two, why would the Pegulas fire a coach they just gave a contract extension to, a GM that worked with? It's just again, it's fanciful what you're talking about, man. It's fanciful. We don't need another big wide. I mean, we need a. I think they need. I think they can look at another receiver. I just don't like Ridley personally. I just think he's. What's up, Doug? How you doing, bro? It's all good, man. It's just a little therapy session. Just a little therapy session. Yeah, that's clown show shit. When you're just firing coaches. Again, I gave an example. The Bills fired Bruce DeHaven right after the Music City Miracle. Fired him because everybody wanted to be appeased. Everybody needed their bowl of blood. They got the sacrificial lamb. Great special teams coach got laid to bear, right? Pissed a bunch of people off in the building. Wade Phillips is a nice guy, so he hires his friend, Ronnie Jones. I gave this example earlier in the chat, and guess what happened? The Bills special teams that year was last in the league. It was terrible. I think they might have lost a game because of it, one game in particular, but the team just was 8-8. And if they would have had their head on straight, they probably could have got to the playoffs, but that's the start of the drought. That was the start of the drought. How about the Scanling from, you know what? If I'm that boat, like I was talking about early in the chat, Greg Olson was on a Dave Portnoy show talking about how he does think about if he would have signed with the Bills. Like he didn't know about Josh Allen at the time. He didn't know Josh Allen was going to do what he did. And he thinks about and he also said that free agents are going to want to come play for this team. There's no doubt about it. Guys will take less to come play with them now. Because even though what happened, but they still took notice of number 17. So there's no doubt about it. Andy Reid, the Walrus. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Does he still have that look-alike that goes to the games? The guy that has the call sheet and the head thing? And I haven't seen that guy a long time on the broadcast. He used to have the look-alike that would go to the game. At worst, I think we're about there. The coverage units were the best in the league. The coverage unit return-wise was the best in the league. Yeah, no plan there. Just fire people. Oh, Mike Holmgren. I always got them too. Well, you know what it was with Holmgren? Yeah, they do kind of look alike, right? Well, they come from the same coaching tree. I mean, he was in Green Bay. He was the quarterback coach. He wasn't even the OC when he got the job in with the Eagles. Well, you're talking about Bill Parcells then. Bill Parcells was over emotional, yelled at everybody, but he was a great leader. And you better be able to leave alphas, dude. Because if you don't, you could do the best X's and O's in the world, but if motherfuckers don't want to follow you, they don't give a shit about what you say. I think they're a different caliber of athletes, Al. Allen is a way different athlete than Roethlisberger. I think he even talks about taking less hits, and Roethlisberger just was not. Let's just say Roethlisberger was not a workout warrior. How about with Tyrod Taylor? How about in Allen's first in 19 when Allen was still, uneven, the defense, the special teams. McDermott has nothing to do with that. He just does nothing. So yeah. He does absolutely nothing. So, I mean, his first free agent signings are Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde before Brandon Beane was hired. So he did nothing. Exactly, Steve. Oh Christ. You seem very disgruntled, dude. I don't think there's any consoling you. Yeah. And the Seattle Seahawks got to the playoffs at 7-9 and went and won a playoff game. Did they apologize for it? No. I think the 8-8 Chargers, who the Bills beat in 08, got to the playoffs and won a fucking playoff game. Nobody apologized for it because somebody else won. I'm not going to apologize for them. Who cares? I know he had a motorcycle accident that beat him up pretty bad too. I know like he had a motorcycle accident in like was it 06 or 7, and then he just wasn't a workout warrior. Like he did not take care of his body well, like at all. He wasn't like in the off seasons doing, he'd get it, he let himself get up in pounds. I think sometimes he would get up as high as like 255, 260. And if you saw him at draft day, it was just like he looked like a different person. He looked svelte, like he was probably about 235, 240, and then you see him late in his career, he just looked soft, he looked slow. He just didn't have the build. Tom Brady took a shot at him today about his body. Oh, did he? I didn't see that. Al. Yeah, there was times it's our defense. I mean, the second Miami game in Buffalo where the offense just is not clicking. It was an ugly, just muck. And then I think they missed a field goal right before half. It was a long field goal attempt too. And then they finally came out in the second half. Their first drive was trash, and then they finally got a touchdown drive on the board. And once they got that touchdown drive, they just kind of they started rolling. I think it was a touchdown pass to Gabe Davis too, and then they just started rolling, and the game ended up being what 26-10 or 13, something like that. So Jordan Poyer sealed it with an interception. Some of your comments, guys. But he had nothing to do with Allen being drafted. He had no say in that. None. His patience with the quarterback, hiring the staff, keeping everything in concert to make sure everybody is in lockstep with that quarterback, getting people to want to come like John Brown and Beasley when they didn't know what Josh Allen was going to be, but they had faith. They liked his messaging. I mean, none of that. He had nothing to do with it. Okay. Again, he just stands on the sideline with a fucking headset. Okay. Nothing to do with it. I don't know what he did to his elbow. I don't think it was a Tommy John, but he had like some sort of elbow thing. But yeah, his body, he just did not take care of his body well. Easily. Somebody's always disgruntled, man. I always tell people, I mean, on days, the week that this is for Bills fans, just go outside the Bills bubble for a second. We could easily, Al, easily. I'll be top 5. I'll take top 5. Top 5. 4 other teams are playing this week. All right, top 5. Top 5. Take a trip outside the Bills bubble. Go listen to 97 the Ticket, the Detroit fans. Go listen to Cleveland fans. Go listen to Jet fans. Listen to Giant fans on WFAN, ESPN Radio in New York, 1030, Kay and LaGreca. Listen to the guys down in Miami. It's. I mean, listen to Dallas. Listen to Dallas. Dallas paid a quarterback $40 million. They got Jerry's World, and just listen to them, and you'll find out real fast something different. Okay. and got the wrong OC in Dennison. Well, they tried to hire Mike McCoy. Did you know Mahomes was going to be good, Oasis? Did you know? I'm curious. How many people in the league were saying Patrick Mahomes was going to be what he was going to be? Is that why he lasted to 10? I'm curious. Run the chess game. You run. No, I want you to do it because you're the answer man. You know all over there, Oasis. So please. No. I don't feel better. I don't want to feel like you. That's for sure. I don't want to feel like you. So you knew Patrick Mahomes was going to be what he is now. You didn't know Allen was going to be what he is now. Nobody did. Why do you think everybody's in fucking shock? I will never say a quarterback doesn't help the OC. You advocate for, okay, Daboll was trash without Allen. Stop, seriously. I'm not an NFL coach or GM, Mark. That's called a straw man. No, it's not, because you're sitting on here advocating for Sean Payton. What the fuck did Sean Payton just do? He walked out of the building. Oh, I don't have Drew Brees at quarterback no more. So you're going to take that dude, the guy who just basically pieces out on his team and says, I'm done, but I want him to come in and coach. That is a great message, dude. Let's sign. Awesome. Do it tomorrow. See what happens. Woof. That's great. Yep. Let's bring that guy in to lead the team. The guy who just quit on his team because he doesn't have a quarterback. But Daboll was trash without Allen. What the fuck was Sean Payton without Drew Brees? Oh, come on, man. Have some consistency. No. Run the chess game. No, you do that. I'm not playing chess with you. You do that. You go play chess. You do it yourself. You do it yourself. You do it yourself. Yeah. Belichick. 71 and 78. We could play that game all day, dude. You could play that game all day with every coach. What was George Seifert without Steve Young when he was coaching Steve Berline in Carolina? What was he? Was he good? How was Mike Martz with Mark Bulger instead of Kurt Warner? What was he? Was he great? I can tell you what they didn't do, though, or what they did. They got fired. Sean Payton quit on his team and left. He took his ball and went home. But you want that guy to coach the team based off what? Based off a Super Bowl that he won 14 years ago? Based off a Super Bowl he won 14 years ago? Does Sean Payton make those 4 mistakes? You act like it's not a deeper problem. All we can do is speculate what the problem was. You don't know what the problem is. You're like the rest of us speculating. We weren't on those headsets. We don't know. We know there was mistakes. It's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to sit there and say it's an epic fuck-up. I mean, we can Monday morning quarterback all day long. But it's just fruitful. I'm just saying he just said, "Oh, that's a straw man. Don't do that." But he still hasn't answered my question. You want Sean Payton to coach the team. Mark Daboll sucks without Allen. What is Sean Payton without Drew Brees? Come on, man. But he just quit on his team. He quit on his team. You want that guy who quit on his team. That's cool. I'm going to read some of your comments, guys. I should take a step forward. For me, I think, it's maybe sometimes change is good. I'm not going to sit there and sometimes a new message is good. Allen doing something different, maybe it reinvent. He's not that. It's not going to be. The guy's invigorated as fuck. He loves to play football. But Daboll's done a great job. I'm not going to sit here and besmirch him whatsoever. He's done great. He helped Allen. He's done some great things. Yeah. Throw your players under the bus. Throw your players under the bus. Shit, Bruce Smith used to get depth threats, for Christ's sakes. Remember, read your comment, Al. How do we know Bass didn't execute? How do we know players weren't supposed to adjust to the Chiefs line? Again, it's all conjecture right now. Things get skewed, strong opinions get made. It's just a frustrating situation for everybody. Oh, I hate this new Windows. It sucks. Things keep popping up. I just don't like how Daboll runs Allen. Frank, in the playoff situation, I just think that's when it just, like Allen said it himself, he's gonna just go. He's like, when I get into a got to have it situation, you're in the playoffs, I'm just gonna do it. There you go, Doug. Prime Drew Brees, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9. Oh, he definitely helped find Romo. I'll attest to that. He definitely did. I remember his first game he OC'd with the Giants. I remember it very, very well. Kerry Collins. How do you know it's a better fit? How do you know it's a better fit? You don't know it's a better fit. That is a massive, massive assumption. You have no idea what kind of fit that is or isn't. None. And you're going to take that? No. I'm just counting. Oh, he says he doesn't know what happened. Nobody knows what happened. Sorry, I had to. There you go. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I entertained that for so long. I had to finish with that. It got to the point where it's just too disruptive. It just got too disruptive. Couldn't deal. Sorry, I apologize for that, guys. It just got a little crazy. You got some of you admins. You have wrenches by your name for a reason. You have wrenches by your name for a reason, man. You know what? I've talked to one coach in my life. One. That's it. And he was half drunk at a bar. So I can't even really say that was a conversation. And a bunch of people were around. So I really can't even equate that to being a conversation. He was kind of babbling through. Yeah, you could have, Trevor. Dude, you have the wrench. You have the wrench. You have the wrench for a reason, dude. But it just got to the point where it's just too disruptive, and it's just disrupting everybody else. But some people, again, that's what happens in the situation. But just don't come in here and act like you're the answer man and you know all and telling people to play a chess game. It's just like, all right, but you don't know. But you're an advocate for a guy who quit on his team, but he didn't quit. Don't be naive. Then what did he do? Because he doesn't have a quarterback, but you want him to be the head coach. At least have something better than that. I can entertain something better than that. That shit's hard, dude. People don't realize how much that shit's hard, Frank. Like all that setup that they do with all that to set up an NFL game is not easy. That's a big deal. Nah, bro, you're always in here. You're always talking, man. What the hell, man? They have your promotion. You're in here all the time. What the hell? You in here blowing up the chat. You spend your time in here. Why not? What the hell? Best coaches in the league. I mean, they get flamed all the time. Kyle Shanahan, 28-3. Kyle Shanahan, Super Bowl, up 10 with four minutes to go. I mean, they're back in an NFC Championship game with Garoppolo, with a so-called lesser team. But yet the Bills aren't going to get back with Josh Allen. Come on, man. I think Tomlin's a good coach, Frank. I think he's a good coach. He's very strong and steadfast, but I think he's a good coach. Shanny's a good coach. He's a good coach. Are we talking about Daddy Shanny, the lobster, or Baby Shanny? Yeah, nobody's saying he isn't a good coach. Like that no, that's just yeah, that's basically when he says those got to have it situations. Like, you know, we're yeah, exactly. Like Hurts, who's basically a rookie, who's a rookie. The old one now, the lobster. I don't know why that would be held for review. Like that's just crazy. Yeah, when he said that they got to have it, like what was it? Was it a 4th and 3 when he ran, or 4th and 4 when he ran and scrambled, and it was the 4th and 13? I mean, he threw on that one, but I mean those were hellacious drives. Not every quarterback can make those drives. Like those, you know, the one with right at 2 minutes, the one with a minute and change. I mean, shit, I just wish that fuck, why couldn't he have thrown that touchdown to Davis with only like 4 seconds left on the clock? In 13, that's it. Like if you could just gonna like found a way to milk off 7 more seconds on that drive, right? Really? Yeah, like McVay's a good coach. You win that amount of games, you get to NFC Championship games, you do it with a couple of different quarterbacks, your team scores a lot of points, you're a good coach. Brandon Staley, the media wanted to anoint him the next coming of anything. Okay, you're 9-8, you don't go to the playoffs. You're a defensive guy. Your defense is absolutely garbage, hot garbage. All right, and you have Herbert at quarterback. Let's fucking stop now. I don't care how many times the guy goes for it on 4th down or goes for 2-point conversions. I don't care. Your record is what it is. You're a defensive guy with a shit defense. End of story. Seriously, Al. Seriously, I was just like 4 more seconds. Just anything under 10. I would have taken 9 seconds. I was almost in fucking tears. I'm not gonna lie. I was almost in tears. It was right there. I was pretty much, yeah. Even though Vrabel's not my cup of tea, he's a good coach. He's not my cup of tea, but he's a good coach. I think there are too many teams in this league. Like I don't think there's enough good coaches to go through 32 teams. Just like there's not enough good quarterbacks. Like there's tiers. I don't think there's just enough functionally good quarterbacks for a 32 team league. I don't think 28 teams, I do. 32 teams, not at all. And then teams don't have good backups because those guys are starters elsewhere. And then maybe they have a better backup than a team that has a better starter. Then the league gets watered down. Don't worry, I'm going to get to all your comments because I see Steve's in here. Comment. McDermott in his first year, McDermott said everything I did to get the job. I don't do it all now. There's a lot we don't see or know. Of course, man. That's like anything. That's like everything. There's just so many layers to shit. The Monday through Saturday that we don't see. The off season, those meetings, those guys just wanting to do shit on their own. Like no coaches around. We're just gonna watch film. No coaches around. We're just gonna go live together because we like hanging out together. Like you hear the players, how they talk about each other, how McDermott has those guys get up and talk about their stories and where they come from and why they're motivated. Come on, man. This guy has nothing to do with what happened. Come on, man. That's insanity stuff. That's insanity. Yeah, Tannehill just shit the bed, man. What's up? What was up with Steelers? They were terrible, Trevor. They were last in defending the run. They were I didn't you know what's Doug? I didn't realize it was 17 plays. I did not realize it was 17 plays. When I heard it was 17 plays, I was like, that drive was 17 plays. No wonder I was like sitting here like half dead after that drive because it was 17 plays. Yeah, Tannehill. Oof. Hey, what's up, Doug? There are maybe two or three other quarterbacks in the league that could. Yeah, Rodgers, Herbert could make that play. Herbert has the ability to make that play. Stafford maybe. He's quite as mobile. I mean, with mobility and arm, maybe Dak, maybe. But if you really scan Russ, there's not many. There's not many, man. You were in tears after the game, Matt. I mean, I wanted you to be in tears of joy, dude. Tears of joy, man. Just to give you some 17 drive, Allen. Yeah, dude, it's Frank. I know it's just ridiculous. Numerologies, you'll just drive yourself nuts. Numbers are they're scary things. I love the NFL has been so competitive these playoffs. Hope these young quarterbacks will continue to push each other. Yeah, man, it just depends on how their organizations support them. I was talking about Burrow and the Bengals history. They don't really support their quarterbacks very, very well. I mean, you can go back. I can go back further. With Boomer, I can go back further with even through the they had a little cup of coffee with Jeff Blake, even though he wasn't great, he was okay. But Carson Palmer, after he tore his ACL, played a little bit there. Marvin Lewis was there for such a long time, and they never got over the hump with him. Because they just weren't doing things. Bringing in the right people, paying the right people, and he got frustrated and wanted to leave. So that's going to be the key with them and Burrow because this is a new wave of player. This is a new era of football where a quarterback of that caliber can sit there and say, like, look, you guys don't want to support me. Keep the players here, pay the players. I want to go. So that's all I'm saying. Do I want that to happen? Fuck no. Cincinnati, they've been an also rant like the Bills for so long. They've had solid teams. Shit, they helped the Bills get into the playoffs for first time in 17 years. So and they've been under the boot of Pittsburgh, Baltimore. So hell yeah, like Roof, I'd want them to be, a good team and win. Thanks for taking care of that, man, because that kind of shit's annoying. Those people popping into the building, fucking with us. Theory on the last touchdown drive, going for two. If I thought about that, Al, I really did. You go up four, they need a touchdown. If we didn't get the two, you have to stop the field goal. Changes. You know what? I'm sure they thought about that, bro. I really did. Willis McGahee's in the house. It's not wise just to dismiss McDermott to chalk it up to basic screw up. There was enough there that would make any intelligent person question. Oh, of course, man. I mean, nobody's not questioning it, Willis. Trust me. Nobody's not questioning it. Well, he looked like he was gonna cry. No, not at all. No, no. That kid's wired different, man. Like people are gonna knee jerk and go jump to some crazy, crazy conclusions, man. I see with San Fran, it's crazy. You know what? When I'm watching that game, and I don't know, like it dawned on me after the game. I'm like, holy shit! It was Corey Bojorquez that got his punt blocked, and that might make some of you guys happy. It sounds like the Bills are going to move on from Matt Hawk this offseason. They don't they sound it's probably going to get a new punter. I know a lot of you guys were not. I mean, he was very inconsistent. Was it the Jets or the Atlanta game? He had two. I think it was the Atlanta game. He had those two horrible punts. But even throughout the year, the first game of the year with the block, I mean, he didn't endear himself to Bills fans right away. He had a good punt in the was it dropped at the one. So I mean, He's just very inconsistent all year. They definitely need to improve their offensive line because Burrow gets sacked a lot, but he takes some unnecessary sacks too. He takes some, and he's not mobile. He can move around, but he's not like an Allen or a Russ in his prime or a Prescott. He's not like that. I mean, he can hurt you a little bit, but he's not gonna do serious damage. Like he's gonna take a sack, and he's already had his knee. He's already had an ACL. So if you're a Cincy fan and every time you see him get laced, you don't want to you hold your breath. I know I hold my breath every time I see Allen take a hit. I know that for a fact. Sorry, I'm going to get to your comments, guys. Having seen the 90s and the drought, it's hard because these windows, they're precious. But if you look at, I know it's the Patriots. How long was their window? They didn't have a window. They had a goddamn cavern. They had a cavern like to center Earth, for Christ's sake. You look at even though Rodgers didn't win, they didn't win the night before. They're in the playoffs all the time because of him. I mean, they're just in the playoffs. They have good players. They recycle their team very well. I mean, I know he's a fickle guy. His personality and Allen's personality are very different from the little that I know. So and they play in a smaller market than the Bills do. That's just as cold. So I think that it was such a different game, Trevor. Such a different game. The things that they used to do now that they don't do now. I mean, it's insane, man. The way the game was played then, the way it's played now, you can't even compare the two. You can't. I mean, you go look at some stats from back in the day, dude. They played 16 games just until this year. They played 16 games. The amount of times the teams throw the ball now, the way they throw the ball, the versatility. You can't hit the receivers over the middle like you used to. The defenseless receiver rules in place. Just the hits on the quarterback to the head, below the waist. I mean, the interference rules on the receivers. Quarterbacks couldn't prepare the footballs the way that they can do them now. Remember the whole Tom Brady thing in was it 14 or 16 with the deflate gate thing? The quarterbacks up until like 06 couldn't do that. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning petitioned the league and forced the league to do it, and they did it. So you have that. There's so many things, man. Such a hard, you know, you can't compare the games, man. I thought I've kept the thought I've kept having about overtime. It was unfair for one team. Yeah, that's tough, Doug. It's a tough situation. I mean, I think KC had the same situation when they played the Patriots in was it 17 or 18? They had the same situation. They had to defend. I just think when you're in the playoffs for 17 games, I think you play the 15 minutes, and I think just each team gets a chance with the ball. That's it. Simple fix. Each team gets a chance with the ball. The first team is going to want to score a touchdown because they're going to want to force the other team to have to score a touchdown. I mean, if you punt the ball back, guess what? You know what? If you get a field goal or you just you just have to play it straight. Like for me, that's it. You play it. You give each team a chance with the ball. That's all. I think he had one good sideline kick. That's it. One good sideline kick. That's that. And I think it was against the Jets last game of the year. I think he put one coffin corner. There might have been one others. Yeah, he's replaceable. I missed a lot of comments, guys. I'm going to read some of your comments, guys. I apologize. Elway had coaching change. It was a better fit. Well, that was John Fox to who was it? Shit, who did he go from coach to coach? It was John Fox to somebody. God, I know it's a guy that just instantly lost his job. I know John Fox won the. Oh, it was his good buddy Gary Kubiak, because it was his former backup quarterback. That's why he did it. He wanted to get his buddy a chance to get a Super Bowl, for Christ's sake. Don't dismiss that. Was Mar? Oh, I already answered that, Trevor. Sorry. Yeah, Frank. I mean, he's young. He's still young, 23. He needs to get, he played his best football this year. He played a lot more physical this year, though, which is I like. I'll say that for Tremaine. Physicality wise, downhill, he played a lot better this year. Why not just eliminate the coin toss for overtime? The team that gets the ball first, the team that didn't score to send the game to. Yeah, you could play it like that. I mean, they're gonna change it. I mean, the way the way the noise is going now for the playoffs are gonna change it. Allen is capable of making all the throws. I hope good things happen for the Bills heading forward. You all really deserve. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that, man. Here is a Japanese Bills Mafia from. Wow, thanks, bro. Appreciate that. I'm just shocked. Yeah, we're all in shock, man. Just a therapy session. What time is it over there, dude? Yours at daytime over there, no? It's daytime. You're already Friday. See, that's the thing. Is like I feel better, even though it's not the AFC Championship game, right, guys? I feel better about this team than I did last year's team, because I felt like the game in Buffalo against the Chiefs, even the Tennessee game, they got waxed in Tennessee. This year in Tennessee, just Allen slips, and there was a bunch of throws in that game. If you there's like 2 touchdowns called back on penalties. We all saw McKenzie's kickoff, the Dawson Knox little end around scored off on a penalty. Was it a legal hold? And they beat KC finally in KC. They're 13 seconds away here. So I feel, am I wrong for feel? We saw this team overcome way more adversity this year than it did last year. After the Hail Murray, the team kind of just went on a roll and didn't really have a hiccup moment. Maybe in the Chargers game, first game back, right? They kind of like wanted to get the running game going, play a little more balanced. But then after that, they just took off and didn't really stop. But once after they had to come down to the wire with the Colts, still just 17-10 against the Ravens, and then they lose to the Chiefs. I feel better about this team going into next year than I did last year's team. I felt strong, but there's a lot more, to me, a lot more questions have been answered. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but that's just me. I'm going to read a lot of I miss a lot of comments, guys. I apologize. When our punter, oh God, Mormon. Brian Mormon. Wow, I think there's something to Reed and Mahomes being a better fit compared to Allen and Reed. I just don't think we should. Again, bro, they've been together another year. They play with, again, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I don't dismiss that either. They're good. What do you want to say, Willis? They're good. They're good players, man. You got to have good players in this league. You're always going to have good teams. I don't know who watches the Pro Bowl. I mean, I'm one of the biggest football junkies in the world. I'll click it on for like a few seconds just to see, and then I don't watch it. Now I think he changes teams. Why would you change though? I would stay in Green Bay. It's like pretty much a lock. You're going to go to the playoffs. I mean, none of those teams are going to challenge Green Bay, not in my opinion. Yeah, they do in KC. Oh, do you feel better about them? I mean, I just feel better about them, like, because they weren't in the KC game last year. They were up 9-0. Bass misses an extra point. KC rattles off 21 straight. Bills kick a field goal. Everybody's pissed off because it's like, look, you got to go for a touchdown here. Then maybe you get the 2-point and it's 17-21, still a game, and then it runs away from them. Then I think they went for another field goal at some point. after that too. And it's just like, no, you got to try to score touchdowns here. Actually, never got another NFL gig after Buffalo. Oh, no, he never. Schmitty punter never. I think he went to Tampa Bay for a second, and that was it. That was it. He was like Tampa Bay's practice squad or something like that, and that was all she wrote for him. He was all right. He wasn't great. He was all right. Bills were outplayed by the Colts last year. Much more competitive playoff. Yeah, it was a good back and forth game. You know, late in the game they were getting outplayed. When the Colts they were down by what 10? It was at 24-14 with 10 minutes to go, and the Colts just boom boom. They went up and down the field. Dan Reeves was very much like McDermott. Shanahan took Elway to another level. Well, Terrell Davis, Rod Smith, you know, that had a lot to do with it, dude. You know, and the quarterback, you know, answered a lot more questions, playoff questions, you know, being able to put together 2 good years. I remember too. And they don't remind me at all of each other, dude. Like that's like talking about a coach, you know, from 25 years ago. There's nothing alike. Yeah, Brian. I mean, I don't know about being spoiled with Brian Moorman. I mean, having a punter that just punts all the time, it's just that's not a good thing, man. You don't want a guy who just is a punter all the time. I mean, I just don't like the idea of paying a punter all that money. I mean, they paid him like a couple of $1 million. I'm just like, you can get a punter, find some consistency, have a couple of guys in camp going back and forth, find the best one and just go with them. You don't need to pay the guy $2 million. Yeah, he didn't get that respect last year. That's the thing. He had one good year. Everybody thought it was a flash in the pan year, and then it was just like this year. It just seems like he's going in with a lot more respect. And see, I think you can get a better back. I mean, you can get a physical back. You know, you can find yourself a physical back, man. He was a lot. Shannon Sharp was really good, dude. He was really good. He just didn't get first downs. I mean, that was amazing. Oh God, you should be, Matt. He was on the cover of the Bills. I believe it was '09. He was on the cover of the Bills season ticket package. Brian Moorman. He was punting out of the end zone too, and it was like, see, it was like I'll my friend sent it to me. I'll never forget it. I remember when Eric sent that to me. I was like, oh my God, it was terrible. It was like, you're punter. You know the season's gonna suck. He can still choose to punt on fourth down instead of go for it, right? But he goes for it. And Elway was a broken down athlete in an era where you could just crush the quarterback. He wasn't the same quarterback. And the organizations were completely different. Elway was different. I mean, you can't even let Mark go into the Super Bowl with who? Steve Saul, Mark Jackson, uh, Rod Burns. I mean, Jesus Christ. Ricky Natal. Like, you're going to the Super Bowl with those guys. Yeah, he did with Scott Chan. Oh, Jamal Anderson, Tony Martin. I don't see Rodgers going to the AFC. He wants nothing to do with facing Mo. Yeah, I don't see that either. Like people keep saying the because of Nathan Hackett. I just he was there for a couple of years. I just don't see him going there, knowing that his easiest path to get where he wants to go is where he is. Yeah, but again, if you watch Schottenheimer, well, with KC, it was all running, 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 and then the quarterback just was kind of the he was just managed the game. Just don't lose it. Occasionally, if you need to win it, he had so many different quarterbacks in KC. I mean, even before then, I can go back to his time with the Browns when he Kosar. I mean, just never got it. And then when he goes to KC, it's Barry Word, Christian Okoye, little Greg Hill, Marcus Allen, Harvey Williams, and then, you know, the quarterbacks, Montana, Dave Craig, Bono, Steve DeBerg, you know, Elvis Gerbach. They're not the best. They're not like this guy. See, I see what happened. I see what happened. You know what happens is a guy like Oasis, he basically what he does is makes another name. He makes another name and comes back into the room. That's what he does. Jesus Christ. Now you know you really have like a chip on your shoulder. Something is wrong with you. I got to get to some of your comments, guys. I'm sorry. I was at the preseason Hall of Fame, Titans, Oilers. The kickers before the other players on the field. All right, get yourself some sleep, Matt. I can't imagine teaching anybody. He seemed like a nice guy. Everything I heard, he seems like a nice dude, man. That's a tough job, man. Teaching is no joke. That shit looks stressful. Yeah, I don't see the correlation, but you know, he made another name. He came into the room. He still had the same rhetoric, but he toned it down a little bit. But if you notice, the tenor of his comments were pretty much the same. Like he was using a lot of the same words about giving McDermott a pass, and we're just dismissing an upgrade. So he had to tweak his nomenclature a little bit. But I'm like, okay, this is just Oasis, you know, false flagging under another name. So, I mean, I gotta, you know, at some point, I'm not stupid, dude. That's all. It's just that once the chat gets a little hairy and just it's just one person just going ham about the same thing, it just gotta, you know, you gotta just chill out. Oh, that's good. That's good. I don't know nothing about voice, so I sound like shit. I've heard myself on these videos and recordings. So if you you know, I need a voice lesson myself. Yeah, get some sleep, dude. Yeah, I just wanted to come in. Basically, I opened the room just to basically, you know, for myself too. I'm not gonna lie, just a little therapy session for everybody. Yeah, see, you got another Art. How you doing, bro? You've probably gotten this before, but who's my Steve Tasker, Andre Reed? They're kind of up there. I mean, Bruce. Bruce was just so good. Yeah, man. Ark, we're down. We're trying to just help each other out. It's little therapy session. My favorite boxer right now. I mean, I would really like to see that, you know, fucking this cat get a fight that is just going to put him on the map, but it's just kind of hard when nobody wants to fight anybody right now. I mean, everybody thinks that Canelo is the best, and that's cool, but you know, if you know, you don't get to see Terrence Crawford fight anybody, and if like I love the way he fights. I love the way Terrence Crawford fights. I mean, I'd like to see him get some legit fights, but it's just, you know, is Spence gonna fight him? Shakur Stevenson's too young. it's, you know, guys like Thurman have kind of washed their name out. Porter retired, washed his name out. Garcia, you know, kind of just like what happened to Danny Garcia. Just it's just everything is like it's boxing isn't like it used to be. Guys just they try to wait each other out to see who gets the better A list, B list deal. Just and then you wait and you wait, and then you end up with like waiting for Pacquiao and Mayweather. You wait 3-4 years, the guys are old. The fight's not the same level it could have been. You guys get me. Yeah, he's hyper aggressive, and he never used to be that aggressive. Never. I mean, he would occasionally go, but it's gotten better, and he's even gotten better with Allen. He's just flipped the switch, and when you have a quarterback like this, you can afford to be hyper aggressive. Get some rest, Matt. Have a good one, bro. Nah, fuck, I can't sing. That's you want people to run. You have me sing. They'll run. I think he would beat Spence still. I love the way Bud fights. Bud is a pure boxer puncher, and he's moved up in weight and handled the weight. He hasn't crumbled. You know, he's gone up slow and steady, and he's met every challenge. Are the Bills NFL version of the Cubs? Nah. See with baseball, there's so many different alliterations of teams. Like there's the Steve, was it Bartman version of the Cubs, you know, with Moises Alou, Kerry Wood, and Mark Pryor. And then the Cubs eventually got over the hump. I mean, they eventually did. Eventually. It took them long enough, but they did. The White Sox before them, but they did. Yeah, I'll take a look at that real quick, Doug. For the first time and for a long time until coaches journalists started being more aggressive in 2018 was clearly the smartest coach on fourth downs. His aggressiveness index was 1.49. Best of any end coach with 604 opportunities since 2003. So McDermott is what, fourth? Woof. He's up there. So, and again, he had a lot of years with, not a lot of years, but got a lot of games with Tyrod Taylor. And if you look at their scoring, what I like to do is if you want to see good teams, look at their scoring differential. And if you look at the Bills' scoring differential just throughout McDermott's tenure, and you take the games, it's crazy. It's really crazy. And I know Nate Peterman is a black stain. I feel really bad because when I met that guy here, they were here in New Jersey in 2017, he was super, super nice. Like he shook hands. He was super gracious. He took pictures. He was just really, really nice. And it really pained me to see how bad he was on the field, because it's like, the guy was so nice. I want him to be good. He's just terrible. He's just not good. But anyway, like their scoring differential in games that he started, like if you remove the games that he started scoring differential wise, the Bills are like in the top 3 in the league in those years with scoring differential. Even with the 2017 year and 18 year, if you remove the Peterman quarterback games, that's how much it helps the Bills. That's insane. That's insane. And it wasn't many. It was just enough, though. That's how bad those games got. Oh, he's third. All right, he's third. 102 years if the Bills have too many heartbreaks, no titles, painful. Well, the league itself is what? The Bills are 62 years old themselves, so they're not quite 100 years. They're not baseball. They're not soccer teams. It's like some soccer teams, man, are like 155 years old. Like some of those Premier League teams, Steve, are 150 easy. Liverpool, Manchester, like those are old teams. They were number 1 this year in scoring differential. I know they were number 1 this year. What were they last year? Second. They were second, Doug. So, and then the year before, I know they were like middle of the pack, 50. But just taking the Peterman games away puts them to like third during that whole time frame. Whereas if you take a team like the Giants, in the last 4 years, they've been outscored by 536 points. Even with the 1 year they were a plus, they were still outscored by 503 points. And they've been bad. Like their scoring differential reflects what they've been, just bad. 64 and 65. Yeah, they had AFL titles. But we know what we want. We don't, we know what we want. Make no mistake about it. All the games they won this year, 12 points or more. Yeah, it's crazy. And they were on the cusp of winning their first close one all year, and they had so many games that were on the plate that were one-score games that they could have easily pulled out. And they know better. I mean, that's one thing I'm going to be confident about next year is they're going to have the things that happened this year in the mental Rolodex, and they're going to draw back on those. And we've seen this team get up for the right teams. Like this team's ready to play the Patriots. They're ready to play the Chiefs. They're ready to play the Tennessee. Even though the result wasn't what we wanted in some of those games, they're ready to play those teams. They're ready to play the good teams in this league. Peterman still has a job with the Raiders. Yeah, poor Jake Fromm, man. Just another guy who just did not need to be on an NFL field. I have no idea, Trevor. Gettleman was a former pro personnel guy with the Giants. They had won Super Bowls. Bean was still younger coming up. So, that's kind of how the league is, man. It's just crazy. Ryan Eagleton, what teams out of the ones left do you think would make the most exciting? Chiefs and Rams. Chiefs and Rams. Easily Chiefs and Rams. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Chiefs and Rams. That's probably what we're gonna get to, Chiefs and Rams. I just the only way. I mean, I just think that you look at the offenses, you look at the teams that have been there, the coaches that have been there. I'm just gonna err on the side of experience. Kyle Shanahan's been there. He's won. He hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's been in these spots before, and he's given that team fits. And their defense is really, really good. So if that's the one game I could pick an upset or a repeat, maybe we see a repeat of 49ers Chiefs. I don't think the Bengals, with their protection issues, even though they beat the Chiefs in Cincinnati, but what happened in that game, Cincinnati got the ball first on offense. And I think there was a couple of turnovers in that game too. And that was my one key to the game. I don't predict games, but I thought like if the Bills would have been able to get a turnover, they could have won. But they never got that turnover. Like the team that was able to truly flip the score. Like when the Bills went up 29-20, was it 29-23? I'm like, or when they got the 2 point and they went up, was it 28 to I'm forgetting all the scores. My head is all over the place. Sorry. I felt like but right when the Chiefs went on the 64-yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill, I'm like, if the Bills can get a turnover here and they can start forcing KC to use their timeouts, even if they kick a field goal and run time, they can win. They can win. But the turnover never came. That was my only hope in overtime. It's like a tip pass, a batted pass, maybe a forced fumble, something. I was just like, if the Bills can get a turnover on this drive, they can win. But if once I see KC start rolling, my confidence really started to wane because the defense looked completely gassed, man. Completely gassed. Yeah, that's old school, man. That's old school. I just don't see it happening. Anything could happen, Doug. Anything could happen. I felt like not having Trey. Yeah, I mean, this game you could say that, but the previous games, no. But when you're playing a team the caliber of a KC team, yeah, of course. I mean, it'd be crazy to say that Trey wouldn't have made it not made a difference. Of course he would have. But they could say the same for Matthew. But I think Trey White's a better player than Tyrann Mathieu. But often injuries are a part of football. Yeah, they happen, man. They happen. I mean, you're gonna incur injuries. It's just gonna happen. Nobody's gonna roll in with the 50 fresh 53 you got opening day. You're gonna have week 17. It's just never gonna work like that. Yeah, they have a losing record. Yeah, they have some crazy thing against this former assistants. Shanahan, he generally beats or gives him fits of McVay and then LaFleur. So if he could do it, I think that's the most likely one. I think that's the most likely one. The ending of the KCS was wild. Cincinnati had the out on the goal line late and went for it on fourth down. They also were back to back penalties on fourth down. I think it was a crazy game. A lot of series of events happened in that game. It just was wild. It wasn't as back. I mean, it was back and forth, but it wasn't as clean back and forth as Bills KC. But it was pretty back and forth. But I believe they get the ball first in overtime or something to that effect. They did something played in their favor. I know, but I know they got the two turnovers. That's for sure. I know they got the two turnovers, and that's what ended up sealing the deal for them. When you can turn over KC, I was looking at some stat when they were. I know it's a corny stat, it's a cliche stat. Turnover, winning the turnover battle. People hate. I think as time goes on, people hate cliches because they're boring, but they're real. It's not like they're fake. Cliches are they are what they are because they're real. And then when I was looking at their turnover differential, and they had a big period at the first of the year where they turned over the ball a lot, but in the second half after their bye week, they only turned over the ball 5 times. They only turned over the ball 5 times. So actually, there was no turnovers in Cincinnati. That's wild. I could have swore they turned over the ball twice against Pittsburgh. They turned over the ball twice. But in the first half of the year, it was insane. It was like 6, 7, 11, 14, 17, 19, 20, 22. Yeah, they had 22 turnovers before the bye. After the bye, they only had 5 turnovers. And their defense, they were taking the ball away decently in the first half of the year. And then the second half of the year, they just 3 turnovers, 5 turnovers, 2 turnovers, 3 turnovers, a couple. They didn't really the Bills didn't turn over the ball once against them. They were +4 all year, but all 4 came in that first game. So I mean, it's and another thing, their offense outside of Pittsburgh, giving up an average of what 31 points a game. So if they're not playing Pittsburgh, their defense is giving up points after week 15 though. So I know this cherry picking stats. So but you got to turn the ball over, man. You got to turn over the ball, man. Let me read this really quick, man. The end. Didn't the Rams lose by? Oh, yeah, they lost. Yes, 4 fumbles. They lost a crazy amount. I know they put the ball on the deck, got it back, lost the fumble on the goal line before the half, lost the fumble late. It was insane, and they just Tampa Bay could never put them to the sword for it. Yeah, Steve. That's the one thing about the bye, dude, that always scared me was is your team being rusty, your team just not being sharp, not being well oiled and ready to roll out of a bye week. I mean, just I think when you're an old team who's been there and done that, an older team, the bye week can benefit you. But if you're a young team, I'm not saying Tennessee's a young team. They're you know, they've got some players up there, but then they've got some young players too. But they haven't really had deep playoff runs. They've had solid playoffs. I just don't. Now with Green Bay, that's a little bit of a shock. You're at home. You got Aaron Rodgers. This is your third year with that coach. You've got those weapons. You should roll. And for them to just come out and throw up 10 points that's pretty bad. That is bad. That dude, Doug, if you see the aerial view of the pass, bro, the trajectory, the dip right to Davis, it was that was such a delicious throw, man. Some of those throws were so delicious. Like even the go-ahead touchdown late, the 36 to 30, it was just the way he just put it right. It was just a thing of beauty, man. It was a thing of beauty to watch. I love when they start taking shots at the end zone when they're at the anywhere between the 15 and 25 when they start throwing the ball into the end zone. That's my favorite time to just like don't wait till you push up to the and then you're like you've got to play in that compressed area. I mean, it's going to happen, but I just love when you start firing shots into the end zone because I think defenses are vulnerable. They think they still have a little bit of field to work with, but there's still trepidation there, and your receivers have a little more room to play with. And you saw that one route when Davis got to the top of his stem, and the way he did the head fake. The second he did the head fake, but he didn't turn his shoulders. He just turned his head and did one step, and boom! The DB busted his ass. It was great. It was wow, what a route. What a route. That kid reminds me of Andre Reed in so many ways. The toughness, the size, he makes tough catches. He likes to be aggressive. He enjoys but he's got some finesse to his game too. He's a hands catcher. So I mean, I think that kid it's time for him to get some run as a legit receiver, and we'll see what they add. But guys, it's 2:17. I'm gonna jump off of here. Thank you so much for coming on. I didn't know if anybody was gonna come on. To be honest with you, I just wanted to come check and see how everybody was doing because I know it was a rough week. It's gonna be a rough week, watching other teams play on Sunday when we feel we should be watching a game on Sunday at 3 o'clock. But that there's nothing that can change what happens. So there's nothing nobody can say or do to make anybody feel better about it. Just gotta, But like I said, given everything that happened, the way they played this year against the teams that maybe waxed them last year, the adversity that they overcame this year, the way Allen's play ascended at the end of the year, the way he played in the playoffs. They did beat KC. They had KC beat again in KC twice. So, man, again, this team's not going nowhere for a very, very long time. It's not going anywhere for a very, very long time. Definitely be catching up, Trevor. And we'll have a lot to talk about, I'm sure, soon because coaching changes, coaching hires, free agency is going to start in a little 1 month. And then next thing you know, we're full on into the draft. So shit comes around quick, man. Comes around quick. Yeah, it's no choice, man. You can't sit here and lick wounds. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us. I had my one Jets friend. He's an older dude, a little older than me. His name is Rick, but he's harsh. He said, "What the fuck do you got to feel sad about? You got Josh Allen. I don't know what the fuck I got at quarterback." That's exactly what he said to me. Saw me at the gym. He's like, "Oh, you think I'm gonna feel bad for you? You got fucking Josh Allen at quarterback. What the fuck do I have?" That's what he said to me. So I'm like, all right. I wasn't asking for a pity party. He's like, "I didn't feel bad for you." All right, guys. Have a great night. Love you all. Go Bills. Let's just see this team get better. Let's see what they can do. Let's see what they can add. Let's see what changes they make, and hopefully it all just all the pieces fall into place. Because I think that's how razor thin the closeness is, if not even more. This team's not even that far away. It's there. It's just gotta step to the podium. That's all it's got to do. That's where we're at. Love you all. Go Bills.